XboxEra podcast is powered by you, and if you want to support us, you can do so via Patreon. Just head to patreon.com/XboxEra. And as a thank you for your support, you get cool stuff and we get to keep doing what we do. Now let's get into it. Hello, friends, and welcome to episode 104 of the XboxEra podcast. I'm Sik and Mechanico, and I'm back, and I'm joined again, as usual, by Special Nick.
What's going on?
And we have a very special guest today from GameOn Daily, the man swimming in the sauce, Gaz.
You're going to regret having me here. Thank you so much. It's going to be Phil Spencer's been on the show now. I can say whatever I want.
Oh my God, it was so funny. As soon as you sent me that video, right? As soon as you sent that video for 100th episode, I'm like, this is going to look so funny after Phil's been on.
I was praying you played that as soon as you did the Phil Spencer interview thing. I was a
we were going to. We were going to.
Just for this chance of him seeing that, because I know Aaron Greenberg and Jason Ronalds watch my stuff, but I don't know if Phil does, and I just wanted to just troll him. But he's such a lovely guy. Well, yeah, well done again.
So
for
funny.
That.
It was very amusing, and I have to ask, what Scoville level was the hot sauce? Because it was, you weren't just messing about. That wasn't ketchup.
No,
actually,
that was proper hot
real
sauce.
Hot sauce.
Come
like
on,
you,
don't insult
I know,
me.
I'm just telling the audience.
Was that ketchup? I'm the sauce boss. Come on, John. I would never in 1 trillion years. Like, in fact, I was thinking of snorting it live, but I thought that might not. One, I thought that might not be a bit like close to Coke and might not go through. Two, I frankly didn't want to kill myself, and I ended up in the toilet and texting Nick. I'm in the toilet thanks to you, because that was really hot. It was really hot. So I don't know what the Scoville rating is. The hottest one I've had is probably the hottest one you can buy. I think it's 18 million for the hot sauce video.
Wow.
Is
that what they go to on the Hot Wings show?
I think the Da Bomb is the hottest one. My one was Mongoose, and it came out like solid. There's a sauce video there, and that I thought I was going to go to the hospital. That was really bad. But I don't have that hot. But that one wasn't that bad. Since doing that challenge, my taste buds, but my tolerance for sauce has gone higher. It's really bad. It's not good for you. But yeah,
I
know.
We did a barbecue a couple of years back, and one of our guys brought in a bottle of Da Bomb. And after all the barbecue, it was like midnight, 1 a.m. They did a bunch of hot wings. I refrained because I've seen it. I was like, I like my food. I don't need to die. And like there were 20 odd people in my kitchen. They're all just like nibbling, and then people were like passing around gallons of milk, and they were like crying. It was I was very glad I didn't partake. But more power to you. More power to you.
I think the hottest thing I can eat is like a KFC zinger. That's like as spicy as I get.
Are you taking the mick? Wow. I don't know what to say to that. It's your show. I'm not going to insult you as much as I want to after that comment.
There he is. Carlos showed up. Okay.
Oh my God.
We've got some super chats. Okay.
Read out the super
Drawn
chats.
TJ. Hi, Gaz. Hope you're having a wonderful day. No, we don't hope he's having a wonderful day. Faisal. Have a wonderful pod, gents. Carlos. Have a great show, guys. Gaz has a forehead like Marlish June today for some reason.
Why did you read that?
What's the super chat? I read the super chat. Oh, God. Draw TJ. I eat the hottest sauce, Mad Dog 357 Gold Edition. It's over 1 million Scoville. They have another hotter called Plutonium. I assume he's going to say plutonium there. Plutonium 9 million Scoville.
So that's pretty good. That's actually really good. 9 million. Oh my God. You must be super chatting from the toilet right now, because that is really bad. Damn, 9 million.
Yeah, that's full on. Do you watch that show? That Hot Wings show?
Yeah, I do.
That's really good.
It's really good.
I love that.
It's really good. I love that
He's
show.
just put up an episode with, what's his name? Oh my god, why have I blanked on his name? Plays Thanos.
Will Smith.
Josh
He
Brolin.
plays Thanos. Yes, Josh
Oh.
Brolin. Yes.
Oh, yeah, wicked.
Man, it looks funny. Like I saw
I
some
need to
clips
watch
from
that.
it, and it looks real funny.
See, that kind of shows how a lot of what a lot of my inspiration for, when you do these kind of podcasts and they're like semi-interviews, I actually look to that in the manner in which he interacts with guests as well. That and actually the Eric Andre show, which for people who know is absolute madness. But yeah,
Does he do a
great
show? Eric Andre.
Oh my god, that's the thing that made him. If you haven't seen it, you have
haven't.
to watch it. That's my inspiration in life. Eric Andre's show, insane.
Oh wow.
That's insane, and that's what I wanted to do for. Well, I might do in the future, but
We'll see. Well, look, see, and I know that you've just done a podcast, right? So mad props to you for doing 2 hours worth of podcasts and then another 2 hours worth of podcasts.
you did the same for us.
Well, yes, of course we would, because it's one love out there for all us content creators. But for those, because I don't think you wax too lyrical about it from what I've seen in your show, but for those perhaps that are watching us and don't watch GameOn Daily, you guys have a website. It's a video game news aggregate website, right? But if people didn't know that and only knew you about your podcast, etc., they might not fully realize that. So could you, just for the benefit and maybe just plug it a little, give the spiel about what GameOn Daily actually is and what you guys do?
Yeah, no, thank you for that. And we don't, for some reason, because we just don't do it. It's kind of a bit of like, we don't like beating our own chair, but we're marketing the thing. We have spent tens of thousands on this website, and we really need to do that. Basically, GameOnDaily.com is actually a news aggregation platform. Instead of like giving an investment deck to people, we thought, me and Asa, let's just build the thing and then ultimately one day have an app that collates news, smart news, and delivers it to users. And there's a lot more there to consolidate streams, consolidate lots of things. So if you check out GameOnDaily.com, you can submit your content there. I know XboxEra have submitted content there, and YouTube, anyone from either other people's articles. If you want, and you want to put Bloomberg and Jason Schreier's articles there, you can do that.
I'm sure he'd love that.
Yeah, he would. He would. He just needs you to buy that subscription. That's all he cares about. And yeah, so really there's a heavy in development. It's been for 3 years, massive improvements over there. There's a lot of smart systems in place to bring news. If you have Twitter following, integrate your Twitter profile to our profiles. It pulls your followers in there as well, so you can see what you want. Basically, there's a lot of stuff out there. Me, like I don't like Kotaku or Polygon's writing, but other people might like it for some reason because they have a brain hemorrhage. But you can put that in there. We'll give you the tools to like what you like, what filter what you don't like, and that's really it, really. And there's a lot more to it. So please do check out GameOnDaily.com. Oh shit! I just realized I didn't give the prize last show for the best comment of the week. That's what we do. Oh my god! I'm gonna do that on Twitter. Oh my god! I'm such a moron.
It's fair to say, and we're somewhat experienced in this now. It's difficult running all of this stuff and doing all of these things, right? And remembering to tick all these boxes. So I'm sure no one will hold it against you. But yeah, certainly, GameOn Daily, you can build your own profile, and effectively you can pull in the news from the sources you care about, right? Yeah. So you can skip the stuff that perhaps might not tick your box, which is great. So definitely, folks, if you've never checked it out before, go and head over to GameOn Daily and give it a click and build your account and all of that fun stuff. And yeah, we've got Gaz here. It's nice to have Gaz here, actually. It feels like a old friend returning from afar.
Thank you.
No, it's good
Even though it's the first time he's been on the show.
Even though it's the first time, it feels like he's always just around, like a bad smell.
In your Discord, especially.
What do you mean? Even in my Xbox party chats. Like, me and Carlos will be playing Rocket League, and all of a sudden we're like, Gaz has joined the chat. Straight away, the shit just starts.
Oh, God. I imagine I'm going to be doing this a lot during the podcast and just kind of holding my head.
That's so funny. Speaking of forgetting stuff, though, like, I felt so bad. Like, when I do the timestamps, I always go back and watch the entire show again, and I do the timestamps, like, in depth. And I noticed there was like a super chat or two that we missed just because of the utter disaster that last week was. Like,
Oh yeah.
I think there was one from like Alexander Dark, and I felt so bad. But last week was like the biggest disaster of a show. Like, Jesse had lightning storms, and his internet was going out, and the power went out, and just. But it's funny when you go back and watch the show again. None of that shows. You just see these sudden cuts out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Like, YouTube puts it all together. Like, if you get back in time, what's the time limit, Jesse? Is it like a minute you get?
You get a couple, and they use an MKV container for their video, so that doesn't break if you disconnect, and you can get back into it and feed it again. But that ended up giving us the robot voices because it broke. We came into it so many times, eventually something on their end broke, and then every minute we just turned into robots for audio.
Yeah.
It was only
You just
right
kept
at the
seeing
end.
these
It wasn't
cuts.
too bad.
I was gutted. Like, it was actually
happens,
the first
man.
time. It was the first time I actually felt like I was doing a half decent job of hosting, and of course, it had to be the episode where everything just kept screwing up.
Bro, that's the worst. The people don't understand the pressure that we had one show. We had King David and Mo Kwame in for a show very early on. We hyped up the show. We like, let's make it happen. And there's some technical stuff happened, and we couldn't even get it up. And it's a horrible, gut-wrenching feeling. So I do sympathize, and I hope the viewers will understand, because you guys have delivered over 100 episode 104. That is a lot of work goes into it. I don't want to like pat my own back or our backs, but I know exactly how you feel, man, and you guys do a great job, and I'm sure you'll make up for it.
You see the change. Like, I've started a little side project that Jesse knows about. And that side project is going back all the way to episode 1 and adding timestamps to all our old episodes.
Wow.
And man, those episodes are unhinged. Like, they're everywhere. There's no structure to them. So the timestamps are like, oh my God, what is this topic now that we're on? And what is this tangent that we're on? And I'm like, man, these timestamps are a mess. Like, I've only been doing like one episode a day because they're so hard to do because of the tangents and stuff. So yeah, so in case anyone ever goes back to our old episodes, they are going to be timestamped. I'm not done yet. I've still got a few more to do. But man, just even the look of the show. Like, at the start, we were just in Discord, I think, for the first couple of episodes, and then we kept going out of sync with our audio, and then all of a sudden you see the switch to Skype.
Same. I can't watch my old shows back. Even just the delivery on hosting, over periods of time, as with anything, with experience, you get to be more proficient with what you do. But oh God, we actually deleted a couple of our shows because it was just like, what the hell was that? That's why we don't have episode 100 or whatever, because two of them have just been deleted because of memory.
Oh my God.
Though,
okay.
And it's a good point, actually, Nick, just before you continue.
Yeah.
To kind of give mad props to Jesse, right? Because I used to have to click all the buttons while hosting.
Yeah.
It just drove me crazy. And then when Jesse, got all these upgrades in and he's put all this together, it makes life so much smoother, because, and he gets to kind of be this unsung hero sitting in the back. But the fact that all of these kind of cool transitions that I just watched that happen on the screen happen is really, really good. Quality of live updates. These kind of little things elevate a podcast into it. You guys do really well. You do really well.
Oh,
thanks, mate. You guys are pretty good too.
Yeah, thanks. So whole shout to Asa, as if I could do any of that. But
well, I was about to say, like, I remember when we first started doing this and we were on your show, and I came back after doing your show and I said to John, fuck, man, like, I like how their show looks. Like, how do they get all that stuff? And how do they get all that? Like, I don't understand how they do that. We have to work out how to do that.
yeah. And honestly, the comms channel was, I think you've already spoken to Asa, but you guys there, look at the quality, look at the transitions. And shout out to Jesse, who me and him always have fights on your Discord, but he's very technically proficient, and he understands the Halo story better.
It was one little tiff and we've been fine.
yeah, it's true. It got a little bit heated, but that's what happens with family. You guys get vexed.
Okay. Before we get into news, there's just a few more super chats. May as well get them out of the way. Drawn TJ, it tastes great, but burns coming out. And he was talking about that hot sauce that he was having.
Oh, thank you for the description.
Geordie, love you guys more than PlayStation. Why?
That doesn't mean
Ty
anything.
Casares. Nick, what are you doing showing your cheeks? Yeah, we'll talk about that later. I was the Joey butt double for Pablo Schreiber. Carlos, again, more abuse for Gaz. If last week's show had a name, it would be Gaz.
What a piece of...
It's funny. It's funny when I put I start a thread in our forum for patrons, and I'll say, yep, drop your community questions here. And in this week's thread, I said, look, last week was, an absolute technical disaster. So we figured this week we'd have a human disaster on the show.
Wow. That's very accurate. Very accurate.
It just bounces off him. Well, look, seeing as the subject came up, and I know there's a few community questions based around it, on the subject of your butt cheeks, Nick,
yes,
right, which is, I think, is something the XboxEra podcast audience desperately want to know more about, is
yeah.
What was the process like for you standing in for Pablo? During the filming of the Halo TV show for episode 3.
I was a bit funny about the nudity. It's not something I'm used to. Had to get waxed.
Oh, I wasn't
comfortable.
I did remark how
laser.
unhairy they were.
Yeah, I wasn't comfortable with laser, so I had to get waxed to show my rear end on the screen.
What are you talking about? I'm really confused. Are we on the Halo thing?
No. There's a bit of a running joke because Pablo Schreiber and I
you look the same.
look quite alike.
I was just like, wait, what? How did I miss this thing? What? Nick got his ass shaved or waxed? He's in a
very open podcast.
Have you got that picture, Jesse, to show Gaz? Can
I don't have it anymore, I don't think. No.
Okay.
The ass, please don't.
Yeah, we don't need to see your ass on camera.
It's not the butt shot. Sorry, it's just a little bit unnerving how alike Pablo Schreiber and I look.
I tell you what,
and he won't respond to me on Twitter.
Ah,
I think he feels threatened.
I tell you what cracked me up though is, I know you were commenting before we went in there about the broken nose, like the very similar nose.
Yeah, he's even got a busted nose like me.
When they did the young John in episode 2, when he was breaking out of camp with whatever his face is, Soren, and the actor that was playing young John had a very definite prosthetic Pablo Schreiber nose. Like, I was like, what? The nose was the most distracting thing in the entire scene. It would just look fake.
Yeah. I'm not minding the show though. I think it's okay.
I'm loving it.
I think it's fine.
I know there are a lot of people out there that are like, oh, they shouldn't show the Chief's face. Oh, they put the chip in his brain directly and all of that kind of nonsense. And I'm like, yeah, the game's the games, the books are the books, the show is now the show. Just like, I'm liking seeing this really gritty, mature plasma melting people's arms and legs off.
It's very gory. I was surprised at how gory it was.
Love it. More. I hope it pulls no punches. It's really cool.
And kids get killed and it's full on. Like, it's almost like, whoa, hold on a second here. What's going on?
And I did find the picture. I'm going to put it up.
Of me and my doppelganger?
Oh, yeah. It's pretty
know.
close, man.
That is uncanny, man. That is uncanny.
It is. Wow. It's full on.
Uncanny.
He's got a square jaw, but
a little bit squarer jaw, yeah.
Yeah, but otherwise, even the facial hair is pretty spot on.
And I have a nicer smile.
Oh, definitely.
But yeah,
that might be nice too. I haven't watched it. I'm gonna watch it.
It's not bad. It's not anything amazing, but it's not bad.
Yeah, I just don't know why they have non-canon, but
yeah, I know. I was a bit funny about that at the start too.
Yeah.
When I thought about them, sorry, go on, Gaz.
I was going to say, as Jesse will attest, some of us casuals or not massive. Like, I've read all Greg Bear's books, as much as I can, but I follow the law. But I think Halo has such a vast. I'll be honest with you. Generally, now I've given up on Halo. Like, it was my number one franchise of all time, but 343 have shat on that legacy for me as far as the story is concerned. But then I still keep holding out hope for the future. But and Jesse will attest to it, there's so much lore in the universe that it's begging to be explored. And the canon, even this new redone Halo, this new spiritual reboot, there's so much there. Like Jesse had to explain it to me, and it's not just me drinking on bleach. There are some problems, in my opinion, with the story that they just didn't hit. If I don't understand it, I think casuals will have a real hard time understanding. And I just find it frustrating that they didn't use this opportunity to explore so much with it. The Banished are amazing. What's happening with Cortana? I mean, there's so much you can do there. Like the planet, the Zeta Ring, Mendicant bias, the whole history of the Forerunners. I'm just annoyed about it. And then it's to be not even canon. It's such a wasted opportunity. And then commit to season 2. And I'm like,
I get it. And you know what? Like, with the benefit of hindsight now, like, I really like it still. I haven't played in 3 or 4 weeks, right? Because there isn't enough meat on the bone at this point for me personally, and certainly for my friendship group to play and roll together and have fun. I think that's going to change when Forge drops. So I don't think season 2 is probably the beginning, but I think season 3 is probably going to be the one where it's going to be like, okay, now I'm back. Now I'm feeling it. But
they've said as much. They're talking about season 3 already in season 2, and the idea's there. They're really trying to recalibrate efforts. They're still on a hiring spree. It is just shocking to me that that's the state 343 is in to this day. And what were they even thinking of releasing last
2020.
year? Yeah, but ultimately, despite me, and I still cap a lot of hate, still get the DMs and all that personal attacks, which is, I don't care, I can keep bringing it. But it will Halo Infinite is like Master Chief Collection. Ultimately, the end, it will be an incredible product. I just wish it was like that day one. But
at the start,
yeah. And momentum, also, I will say momentum. Day one momentum is key for the longevity and the health generally of the IP. That has gone. I will say that is gone. And I'm still shocked at the lack of a demand for a timeline for the story's continuation, without spoilers, the way it's ended. It's been some time now. But they should. I think they need to have a timeline.
They've never made any promises that there would be. Like, there's been things that are dug up, but maybe it's the case of them not wanting to dig their own grave. I think even now the timeline of future releases is still very vague, right? And it still doesn't feel very concrete. And I think that genuinely is because they haven't got it fully solidified themselves. I like everybody I've met at 343, and I do believe that they absolutely love it as much as we do. But I totally get the general sort of big Halo fan audience out there's kind of feel right now. It's kind of like you're watching smaller studios like Respawn with Apex Legends absolutely killing it over and over and over. And yes, when they make mistakes, but they're constantly talking, they're constantly updating, and they were very clear at the start. We're not going to do an Epic Games and break our studio teams' backs just to produce content like every month. But when we do something, it will be big and it will be worthwhile. And for all of its worth, I do think that there's an element of, and it all comes back to that big question that was raging around it: should it have launched with a battle royale? And part of me says, from a mindset, from an audience, from a viewership angle, yes, it probably should have. I view BR modes as just a mode. It doesn't take away from Arena, it doesn't take away from X, Y, or Z. But the fact that millions of people would play that would mean more investment in all of those other things anyway. So they've got a tough road before.
Halo already had the bones of a battle royale from Halo 1. Like it's all the foundation for battle royale's been in Halo from the start. To the point where I'm shocked Halo didn't introduce battle royale. Like,
I fully agree with you. And I know people get combative or defensive about that notion, and they're like, Halo doesn't need battle royale. But I think in many ways Halo, like with Halo 5, what was that game mode, which is kind of annoying, that
Warzone.
Warzone. Warzone was
Yeah.
kind of like trying to tap into that because the game is screaming for the scope to be expanded. It's why Big Team Battle is held in high esteem because at the time that was really the fullest they could realize it.
Yeah.
Battle Royale and Halo would work so well.
I know.
Because of Halo. It's just...
But even...
Yeah.
Like, even if you want to go narratively, you had ODSTs that drop in and they're not super soldiers. They're just regular dudes that need a shield to protect them, and they find weapons and they sneak around in ODST. That's what you're doing. You're this lone soldier who's not a super soldier that has to sneak around, and it's an open... I know it's not an open world, but that hub kind of was. Like, the foundation for Battle Royale was already there in Halo back in 2007, 2009. Like, it's just, it's so annoying.
And Drone TJ, oh, thank you for the $20 super chat. Can I read your super chat?
Go.
He goes, Gaz, be nice to
Gaz is
343.
going in full host mode now. I love it.
I'm so used to being a host. I have to. I'm just off the back of my own. Be nice to 343. Nobody's perfect in this world. Look at Battlefield GT7. 343 nailed it. They just need to hurry up. That's all. Ship out Forge first so the community can make maps while they work on modes and story. Look, I made a video, I said Halo 3 and Infinite and its shit story, and I can say, and I call out 343, that's inept, that's not good enough. What are you doing? Bonnie Ross, are you vicariously liable? And I will say that, sorry, my vertigo is going crazy. I will say that please do take that with it, like, and as John, you work with these people, so it's obviously a lot closer to that. And these are things I would say to you in face to face. It's just my personality, but it's not. I do like sometimes like think, okay, if I'm hearing that, I was like, man, I run a podcast, you're a content creator, you don't make games. You're talking about it. It seems like you're a bit entitled, and I completely understand if the three of you are ever watching this. I would say it the same way. I think Halo Infinite's story was shite, but I want to talk to you about it. I don't mean it in a disrespectful way, but as far as Drawn TJ's comment, I don't think they nailed it. I think they nailed certain aspects of it, which I called it an incomplete masterpiece, because what it did is some things I didn't think even Bungie could pull off, but 343 pulled off with the open world, the feel, the spirit of Halo. But there are some things that are inexcusable in that story. And I'm sorry I'm going on a Halo tangent here, but just wanted... because we have a history of talking about Halo over the era, and it's just like people get annoyed that I keep harping on it, and I can see that, but it frustrates me that my number one franchise is being handled this way. That there is all this, like, I can't believe, I'm so shocked at the massive L that's being delivered. And I don't want Halo to be good in 10 years. I want it to be good day one, which is why I said delay Halo. Just delay, take your time, whenever it's ready. This is the only franchise I care about above every single franchise on the planet. Take your time. And they didn't do that. And it shows some of the pitfalls of a live service game. But I completely understand if you disagree in chat. Just know that my views are sincere, and if they have doubts about that now, I don't know what to say to you.
And it's not just that. Like, I understand the nobody's perfect and this, that, the other, but we are talking about one of the biggest studios in the world as well.
Yes.
Like, this isn't an indie developer making Halo. Like, 343 is, if they're not one of the top 5 physically largest developers in the world, then they're very, very close. Like, yeah,
I just wish Joseph Staten could come out and say, look, the problem is we've had all these contracts. Be forthright and say, look, the attitude should be this will all be fixed, including single player. We will deliver the best game ever, and this is how. We've had a problem with over-reliance on contractors plus COVID. It just messed everything up. If the Bloomberg articles to be believed, Joseph Staten was the instrumental force in writing that ship, that one singular... I know it's not a singular man making it, it's a team, but that if Jason Schreier's to be believed, which is funny, but he does report some things. But if he's to be believed, then it all points to a management issue. And I don't know, what am I seeing that's changing things? And do we even deserve to have that insight? I think I do. We do as gamers and fans. But it's a hot topic. I am genuinely really sad about the way Halo's handled. And I wish I could be excited. I wish I could be like Jesse Head, who loved the game, and loads of people love the game. I'd envy him enjoying the story to this day, because I tried to. Trust me, I tried to, but
I don't know
just
what it was
couldn't.
about. I skipped the cutscenes.
Yeah, well,
I don't know what the game was about.
Well, clearly Jesse will tell you guys played the game, watched the cutscene, still didn't know what it's about. But yeah, there's a lot there. But
I think the thing
Halo.
that really stands out for me when I look back now, and I've got the benefit of hindsight. I mean, I got to play it a lot earlier, so I kind of cooled on it a little bit faster than most. Was the moment to moment, like I think you're right in that they nailed the feel and they got the open world right. The grappling hook felt amazing to use. The combat,
The whole game feels amazing.
It's just chef's kiss, right? But then there are the things that Halo always was at the forefront. It always was pushing the genre forward. You know, with Halo 2, it was online multiplayer and matchmaking, which normalized matchmaking in every game ever since. With Halo 3, it was theater and Forge and then that brought forward into Reach when it became merging, became a thing, and all of this stuff just evolved and evolved and evolved. And it feels like and I get it that there's a big difference between a feature set that you might put together for a game made in 2007 that might not be fully HD to games with 4K textures and the desire for higher animation quality and rendering, all of these different things, whatever. But there were no big scarab moments for me in the campaign. There was no oh my god, I can't believe that this is happening right now. Like the way they implemented bosses was really cool. The way that the story unfolded and the shot and the angle was pretty nifty, but it lacks that, in Halo 3 when the first scarab comes over and you're like, I as a player have agency to take out the legs, to use marines, to climb up here and jump on the top and all of these different things. And you have an open world. A scarab dropping down and having that moment would have been really cool, but it didn't, and there wasn't that next big leap for me that really pulled that home. And that was a shame. And that's the stuff I hope to see, that they evolve now that they've got the kind of engine sorted and all of that stuff.
Yeah, so that's those are the big, and I think in retrospect, looking at my review, I feel like I was a bit generous in not mentioning exactly those things. Like I mentioned it in lack of enemy types, but the big spectacles, the open world was so good. It reminded me of Breath of the Wild's open world, which people don't understand the comparison, but it's really alluding to the dynamism of such a good game world with all these subsystems melding together so well with the AI, with the feel. That I almost forgot about it. I even almost forgot about the lack of biomes, but I was a bit generous on that in hindsight.
And there's so many in the concept art. The concept art has all these different worlds and levels, and I'm not going to call them biomes because I bloody hate that word. But the concept art has
gaming. Thanks, Returnal.
The concept art has all these amazing environments, and I'm like, none of this was in the game. None of it.
But for me, Halo is the biomes. It's when I think of Halo 1, I think the snow level, I think of the silent cartographer with the beach level, and then you think of all different things. Like Halo 3, the desert. That was like a moment. Just I don't know what it is, but just
even Halo 4. Halo
more.
4 had some amazing ones.
Oh, Halo 4, if you go play it back, it's like
visually unbelievable.
It holds its
still
own
holds
today.
Yep,
and
still
like
holds up.
And better than in some aspects, like than Halo Infinite, which, to be honest, I forgive that to a certain degree because of what they're doing with the open world. The open world is the best part of Halo.
And it runs at 120. It runs at 120 too, in an open world, which is off the charts. That's bonkers. Like
it does. It really is. And it made me feel like it's I don't know. There's so much potential there. When will it be realized? And I said this before on someone else's show. Halo Infinite, Halo deserves to get killed by another game that is the Halo killer. It's had its time. It's gone on like extra bonus time, 343 on Fourth Strike. They've had, yeah, I know it's contentious. I don't want to admit it.
I know what he's saying. I get what he's saying. A
space, like a futuristic sci-fi shooter in the vein of a first-person shooter like Halo. That Halo killer is due to come. I'm not saying it'll be Bungie or make it, or I don't know if they will, but someone if they're serious enough, can make that. And there are some themes they could do that. Halo for me, I'm really sad. So it's a sad thing, but people love it. Hopefully it changes. They changed the Master Chief Collection. Let's be positive. I just want to know what's happening with 343. I'd love to sit down and have a chat with them if they ever let me in. But if they see my source videos, they'll go, "Who the hell is this prick?" Involved in any interviews.
To rein it back to the show a bit.
Sorry,
that's how this started. This started with the show. There's a community question from Jesse Brother, as well as a super chat. So there's a super chat from Flame. At least there's something cheeky with the Halo show. Referring to my butt cheeks. Now, Jesse Brother. All right, John and Gaz. Howdy, Jess. Nick, keep your pants on. I say that because a few days ago, I found myself looking at your big muscular ass in 4K, which I have to say for a Greek man was a lot less hairy than I would have imagined. I said I had to get waxed, laser, the whole lot. But seriously, what is going on with you? They let you take your helmet off and you think that gives you the green light to just casually drop your budgie smugglers in front of the new personal digital assistant who you just met. Yeah, that was pretty funny. I knew those jokes were coming.
Yeah.
I knew, because I kept seeing everyone talking about his butt. I'm like, oh, what? I haven't seen the episode yet. What's going on? Drawn TJ, another super chat. Drawn TJ, you're going to have to curb your spending, mate.
Keep doing it.
But Bonnie Ross needs to be fired 5 years poor management.
You just literally had a go at me in the previous super chat where you super chatted $20 saying Gaz be nice to 343. Then you just come back with fire Bonnie Ross. I have not said that. Draw TJ, you joker.
Look. I mean, yeah. That's a discussion for another time.
Yeah, that is.
Yeah. I mean, look.
Maybe that's a discussion for our next Rocket League Xbox Live party show.
Yeah, definitely.
In other news this week, a little piece of news that occurred on the show last week, as I understand it.
Oh, yeah, I created a bit of news this week, didn't I?
But apparently that whole chip priority conversation grew some legs and went for a walk, right?
It did.
I
did not expect that. I did not expect that at all. Like, it wasn't the rumor mill or anything like that. It was just, I don't know. To me, it's like, look, my guy had told me, like, I got the DM a year ago. So it's something that's just I've had sitting in my Discord DMs for a year. And he's like, well, I don't know if someone will get in trouble over this, which is why I'd never said anything. But then I kept seeing all this talk, Xbox One NPD and they're outselling and there's all this stock. Look at the Amazon drop we just got of Series X's. And I said to my guy, I'm like, well, we knew this was coming. Like, can I finally say something about what's going on with all this extra stock and blah, 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 blah. And he's like, yeah. But it seems like a lot of people have taken that and sort of run with it in the wrong direction. Like, I've seen some sentiment that Microsoft paid for chip priority and they paid to screw over PlayStation. And it's like, well, A, that's not what I said. I didn't say they paid to screw over PlayStation. All they paid for was chip priority. Like, and I saw Destin Legary did a video on it, which I was like, whoa. I was like, oh, that's a bit full on. He reached out to me about it. Yeah. And he did a video and he linked me an article which I hadn't seen before, from September 2020, I want to say. Yes. That apparently Microsoft and AMD came to some settlement agreement. This was like late 2020. And that the outcome of that settlement was that they were going to develop a closer business partnership, blah, 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 blah. And Destin was speculating, saying, I wonder if this chip priority thing was a part of that deal and a part of that settlement. Which would make sense because Microsoft has partnered with AMD on a lot of stuff. All those Series X APUs in the xCloud server blades, all the extra stock we saw. Again, I think I was a bit surprised by how much of a story it became just because I thought it felt fairly obvious, I guess, is the only way to say it. Like, how else do you explain the fact that they did have so much stock and they did have enough to not only fill the server blades, but they made a limited edition console, which we didn't think was going to be possible because stock was so hard to come by. How did they manage to make a limited edition console? Sony can't even get the stupid plastic replacement stuff out, and that's not chips, that's just plastic, and they can't even keep up. So how the hell did they make a Halo console? There had to be a reason for it. So I was a little bit surprised at how that grew legs the way it did.
Yeah, mate, it was in my, as with all the crap that you say, just dominates everything. It took up part of our show, but we like, thank you. 45 minutes of our show was talking about that. And it was a good conversation. And it was good that you talked about it. But to your credit, the spinning of it, this is typical with your stuff that you say anyway. People will twist that. And it got twisted. I saw it getting twisted because of console warring narratives try and sort of feelings and to pacify the reason. This is coming fresh off NPD when Xbox is smashing PlayStation for whatever reason. Of course, it was going to be weaponized, but it's quite obvious bait to anyone with half a brain based on what you said. It wasn't what you did. But yeah, no, honestly, it's a great talking point. Your source was right, and it's great that he said that a year ago, because if you didn't have the information last year, it would have been a bold thing just to even suggest. So, yeah, good on bringing that discussion in. Yeah, it's good. It's good.
Yeah. It's funny
how people twist it.
A lot of the chat, and I saw a lot of people talking about, it's funny that people keep talking about what they think the sales numbers are. Like, I keep seeing people say, 5 million gap. It's like, I don't understand. How do we know it's a 5 million gap? No one knows what the gap is. Microsoft never reports numbers. Like, so I find it odd that people...
It's all based on
what? It's based on nothing. Microsoft never report... I don't know. I've got a sneaking suspicion the sales race is way, way closer than people think it is. Like, everyone just has this weird assumption. Microsoft's got, it feels like Xbox One all over again. Remember how Xbox One just seemed like it was on 50 million for 6 years? For 5 or 6 years, everyone's like, oh yeah, Xbox One is 50 million. Xbox One is just at 50 million. And 5 years later, they're like, yeah, Xbox One's at 50 million. It's like, do you think they haven't sold any consoles for the last 3 or 4 years? It's so weird. I feel like everyone's going to be talking about Microsoft being on 13 million consoles for the next 4 years or so. It's like, nah, man. They're selling a lot of consoles. We see it. This isn't insider info. We're visibly seeing them selling a ton of consoles while Sony just physically can't make enough of them to even sell. So
you can't have your cake and eat it. On the one hand, say, it's only because of Sony's lack of output. At the same time, you can quite clearly see the availability is there. They're saying, Xboxes are available in stores. Then they're beating them in NPD. So what are you saying that's disagreeing with anything?
That's what I'm saying.
It makes no sense.
It is weird.
Sorry?
Say that again.
It's just console wars using sales.
100%. I saw that. I saw your comment being completely weaponized by content creators on the PlayStation side. Absolute dog shit takes on. But anyway, generally that's my view and my view alone. But I will ask this question to you, gents. We're seeing in the US this, whatever the reason is, consistently Xbox outselling the PlayStation 5. For whatever reason you may want to attribute that to stock shortages, fine. Do you think, though, this is a sign of Xbox reclaiming that territory?
I think it's possible.
Sure. I think Microsoft, I think people that are just writing them off and saying that they'll never come back to 360 levels or greater, I think are being a little bit naive. The 360 was the best. The 360 was the best Microsoft ever performed, ever. And that was with a console that broke a lot during the first couple of years of its life, right? And we're now in a situation where we have a Microsoft that has a very, very clear vision about what it wants to achieve. It is not forcing anyone into anything. It is putting value first. And they've realized, in order to drive what we want to grow, we need to invest. And now the $1 trillion company, the thing that people have been laughing at. Yeah, I saw a comment on Rosetta the other day that was like, poor $1 trillion Microsoft being beaten around by this smaller company, referencing Sony. And I'm like, isn't this hilariously the thing that Xbox fans have been crying for years, and that PlayStation console war fans in general have been laughing about for years? and now Microsoft are taking it seriously. Everyone's like, you can't do that. What do you mean you bought this? Wait, you can't take this seriously. You're putting my world in jeopardy, and it cracks me up. It really
It's
makes
so
me laugh.
funny because no one can say anything to $70 billion. Downplay that as hard as you want. You're going to get clapped by people, even in your own community, about that nonsense. You can't downplay it. Now they're awake. Now you're crying with your crocodile tears. You got people begging for Senator Warren, cancel this deal. Xbox going to destroy PlayStation. Like, wow, okay.
Oh yeah, I mean that's been happening for a while now. One minute there's no games, and the next minute there's too many games, and there's a monopoly. It's like, come on,
Pick one.
Jesus
Well
Christ.
done to Xbox. Well done to bro. Listen, I was part of the Xbox era Discord years ago before the purge. I was part of Resetera, which was literally a PlayStation haven, and I hate Resetera. I'm sorry, I'll say it. And
Say it for free. That's okay.
Okay, Resetera was a cesspool, was a shit place, and that's why we went there. And for a multitude of different reasons. Not for their bias, it's just the way it's run, moderators, whatever, discourse, all that crap. I don't know how who bought that for 4 million, and that data of those users is pointless because unless you want to, anyway. Never mind. I'll just go and just really hit the shit on those people.
Tangent is wild.
Yeah, the tangent is wild. Well, and I don't even know what I was. But this is what I was going to say. We were there watching the Xbox fumble so bad. Xbox as a company, or Microsoft, but Xbox as the division is something that needs to be routinely reminded by its fans.
Yeah,
that's why I have such an affinity with the brand, because I feel like our voices are directly enhancing or improving. It's frustrating when you have to spoon feed this $1 trillion company the basics or seemingly basic things, even though are we really that qualified? But they make dumb mistakes. The Xbox One is proof of that. But to see it here, to see it now, where it is now, beyond my expectations, beyond all expectations. You didn't think they were going to buy Activision Blizzard. No one did. No one did. And no one saw that coming because it's probably a very last-minute opportunity that arose. They took it. It's insane where
savvy.
we are. Very, And
we said that to Phil. We said that to Phil off air. We said to him how great it is that he's doing this. Like, this is like one level below Satya, and he's appearing on our podcast. Like, who else would do that? Like, who from Sony would appear on just some random podcast and just have a chat with them? That's just not a thing. And Nintendo, Jesus, forget Nintendo. Don't even worry about Nintendo. Like, and we said to him, we're so thankful. Like, we can't believe you're here. I couldn't believe he joined the Discord when he did. I couldn't believe he joined the forum. Like, it was just, what CEO would do that?
Mate, when he joined your show, even though it's a different show to all these other shows, it felt like a reach out to the community. Like you've reached out to, okay, well done, you had 12K subs, but you're not at 1 million subs. The guy is a multi-millionaire. The guy's huge. He's the head of Xbox, CEO of gaming, and he's such a nice guy. And that communication, people gave him so much flack for being and I know people, PR spokesman, this and that.
Yeah, I know.
All that. But that was the thing that made everything change. That communication was fundamental where they are now is thanks to us and them listening. I know it's a $1 trillion company, but it's still comprised of people. Phil Spencer changed the culture of people. It's good people leading that business, which is why I have an affinity with Xbox.
Yeah. And we said that to him on the show. We talked about the community, and he was like, it's because of places like you, like the fact that, he didn't just join the forum and his name is just on the forum. He reads.
He posted a couple of times, and he reads it.
And
wow. I'm sorry, Phil.
we joked about that.
That's why we said to him on the show, we're like, don't read all the posts, just be selective about what you read.
I love that there's that genuine feel that yes, they're a business, yes, their objective is to make money, yes, they're selling you a product, right? But they also genuinely care, and I believe that, otherwise I wouldn't say it. They actually genuinely care about how they do it and who they do it for and why they do it. And the fact that seemingly have learned that lesson thanks to the Xbox One generation. As much as people would decry the Xbox One as the worst console ever, I think it was so 100% necessary to get to now. Now wouldn't be a thing.
100%.
We wouldn't see this Microsoft having this conversation. You know, the conversation of why are we in gaming wouldn't have happened if they'd have just poodled through and done another 360 gen. The Xbox One was necessary to allow for this kind of growth and seeing gaming kind of being taken super seriously. The scary part of that is obviously the rest of the industry, when a $1 trillion company starts buying up resources, also starts doing it. And now people perceive that our hobby is under threat of some sort. I'm like, it's still just making toys for us big kids, right?
Yeah.
Who cares? You know, like there'll be games that will be monetized poorly. Gran Turismo 7. There'll be games that are done really well, you know, like Rocket League as an example. It's just there'll always be another game that's going to do something new, do something different, and get that zeitgeist going, like Fortnite, like Halo, like Call of Duty. And I'm here for it when it does, on whatever platform it happens. But the fact that so much stuff is aligning now makes gaming so much easier. It's
Rocket League's actually a good segue, but before we segue, a few more super chats. Drawn TJ needs to put the wallet away. They got Joseph. Don't need Ross. Just saying, lol. Got you guys. Have fire show. Going to eat pizza. Hargeet Chani, you had Hargeet on your show, didn't you?
Hargeet is part of GameOn Daily now.
Is he?
Yeah,
wow. Because I always see him. I always see him in the chats on everyone's shows, whether it's Rand's, whether it's ours, whether it's yours.
The most generous and honestly one of the nicest guy on the planet I've ever met. And I'm not just saying that because he's watching, as he might kill me if I just say otherwise. But no, he's genuinely one of the nicest guys. But he's also very intelligent. He went to Harvard, for God's sake, and he had to be part of the team. Like we all saw a couple of his videos on his channel. So shout out to Hargeet. Sorry, I had to go on a tangent, but he's lovely.
Well, he's put a super chat. He's put a $10 super chat. I agree, 343 should have delayed Halo, but I think we're piling on the team at this point. The game is out, and we're going to have to let them work on releasing content. Most service games are like this.
I agree. Yeah. I agree. As a staunch bullshitting not a hater, but I agree. Even I feel like this is diminishing returns on any kind of critique now. Let them just get on with it.
The last super chat before we move on. Jaba, I don't know how to pronounce it. Jaba Altara. Hey Nick, too lazy to join the forum, so here's my tired question. It's April. Final Fantasy VII Remaster anniversary is like in 2 days. Will we finally get it on Xbox or maybe June release with Steam? And then he's got in brackets Nvidia leak. I don't know. Like I said, my stance on Final Fantasy VII Remake has not changed in 2 years. And that is, I would not personally hold my breath. I don't know what the deal is. I don't know officially 100% if it is or isn't coming. All my source had said way back when 2 years ago was highly unlikely. Not impossible, but highly unlikely. So I just have stuck to that ever since. And I don't know any more than that. I just wouldn't hold your breath. If it comes, great, but I wouldn't hold my breath.
I do wonder, similar to, we've got... I'm probably jumping the tangent, so we'll come back to this. But, considering we've got all the E3 style, whatever replacement shows coming up, the summer game showcases and all of that jazz, similar to the way they brought Yakuza onto the platform with, hey, we've got Yakuza now and it's on Game Pass, boom, boom, boom. I wonder if we're going to see something similar with something like Final Fantasy VII Remake or Persona in some form where, instead of the Yakuza series, that's done and dusted now. That's never going to not be on Xbox, I think, thanks to the great reception. Maybe they'll make a big deal about Final Fantasy VII Remake or Persona or something of that nature.
Well, again, that's what I had said. It was just over 2 years ago. And people, it's funny, I still see people come back saying, oh, you said Persona was coming to Xbox. I'm like, no, I didn't. I did not say that at all. All I said was that Microsoft are trying to get a famous Sega Japanese RPG onto Game Pass. They are trying to. And then I tweeted about a month or so after that, a picture with Persona, as if to say Persona was the series that they are trying to get onto Xbox. And that's what they've been doing. They've been trying to get it on there. I don't know how that's going. So people keep asking me. I don't know. I never said it's happening. I just said they are trying. They are going out of their way. And you see it. Sarah Bond is constantly pushing Japanese content on Xbox. She's always tweeting about it. She's always talking about it. She is big on that stuff. So I know they've been trying to. I just have no idea how that's been going. Absolutely none at all.
Yeah, well, we'll find out, I think, this summer. I think that is the prime opportunity to discover what's next in terms of these big kind of Japanese, known to be PlayStation-only kind of brands coming back to Xbox, especially if, as as we spoke about earlier on in the show, maybe that sales gap isn't as wide as one might imagine.
Yeah, I've just got a sneaking suspicion it's not what I think. It's way closer than people think it is. But yeah.
Now,
anyway, Rocket League,
mentioned
which
Rocket League
runs on Unreal.
It does. And earlier last week or this week, we had State of Unreal 5, where they showcased a bunch of cool Unreal 5 engine things. We saw some stuff from the Coalition. We saw a new Tomb Raider get announced, which I have to admit, let's do this one first. This surprised me because
Same here.
Played all of the previous new Tomb Raiders since 2013. Their engine has always been extremely performant. I think Digital Foundry have repeatedly talked about how it's a great benchmarking game because it's so well optimized for PCs in particular, and the console versions were equally absolutely gorgeous. Amazing. I'm very, very surprised to see this huge leap onto Unreal as if that engine is worth nothing now.
Yeah, it's odd, isn't it?
Does it speak volumes that Unreal is really, really, really good? And
must be.
That makes sense. It must do, right? Because I can't see a reason, if you've got all of your engineering team are super familiar with the engine you've been using for the past decades, just chuck it all out and say we're building the next franchise of Tomb Raider on this engine. It's surprising.
Isn't it funny that the one studio that got a lot of focus in that State of Unreal was the Coalition?
It is funny. And the Coalition, if we think about it here for a second, when did Gears 5 come out? Was that 2019?
2019? I think it was 2019.
I think so.
So since 2019, now we presume that Gears 6 is perhaps in some form in pre-production, but they've openly said we're working on a smaller title to ease into Unreal Engine 5. We've transitioned across to Unreal Engine 5. They helped build the Matrix Awakens demo, which was a phenomenal technical demonstration across all of the consoles. They've shown off one pre-render called Alpha Point, I think, and now we're seeing on the screen the cinematic visual test, again, from folks within the Coalition along with Epic. Whatever they make next, it's going to look
with
ridiculous.
The character that looks like he's straight out of The Order 1886.
the mutton chops.
I saw him and I'm like, hey, that's the dude from The Order.
Everyone thought it was Galahad with the I think his name's Galahad. And then some people try to downplay that. The reason why Coalition is not an odd choice is because they're so technically proficient. It's why when it got weaponized in the console wars, they were making quick comparisons with The Order 1886, saying that looked better. I'm not impressed. This is all that a first-party Xbox studio can do on Unreal Engine 5, completely having selective amnesia about Hellblade 2, which actually looked so good that they thought it was fake or whatever. Like, don't do that, you idiots. But there's a great point about Coalition are going to deliver something that looks stellar. If you're like a PlayStation fanboy who's going to die on that hill, very bold of you to do that, because you're going to get backhanded in HD when that title of theirs gets released. Small one, all big.
4K, mate.
4K, sorry, 4K with HDR. That's right. And ultimately, the migration, that's a great point about Crystal Dynamics and Tomb Raider being on Unreal Engine 5 and why. And that's the second title where we've asked that question, why? After CD Projekt Red elected to make the next Witcher on Unreal Engine 5, and like the Creation Engine, like even to the point where Digital Foundry have been disappointed because they thought, well, some of the reasons they cited, even though I'm not bloody as technically proficient as those guys, they have some real concerns about things looking samey and whatnot. But I think it speaks to, I think the Matrix demo itself was an astounding example of why you should be. When I played it, me and my brother were watching this, we were like just stunned, like I can't believe it's playable. I can't believe you're playing it. And that was the next gen experience for me. This generation was playing the Matrix demo. I think It's a great question that you asked, and the way you introduce that as why would they do that? It's because I think it's a testament to the strength of this engine that now the movie houses are using it in tandem with game outfits. That this game, it's immediately, I don't know about you, but immediately I'm just confident in immediately that would bring a lot of confidence in what the visual quality of that title is going to be. If it's built on Unreal Engine 5, say Fortnite, which is the only game that's actually out with Unreal Engine 5, but that's different. It's going to look in bloody sane. The tools are going to be incredible. I can almost imagine what these games will look like. Tomb Raider seems like an amazing fit for it because a lot of the appeal for Tomb Raider is the geology or the environments around it. It kind of reminds you of that first Unreal Engine 5 demo, isn't it? With the PlayStation, what was it? So
the one that was only possible on the PlayStation.
On PlayStation 5. What a load of shit.
Because there's some intrinsic deal there between Sony and Epic where Microsoft's about to get screwed over by Epic and Sony.
Yeah, it was so obvious. It was so obvious. And I remember that. I wish we could go back to that show and just bring out some of the comments there because it was like, what? Really? Come on, yeah. Money amazing. It changed hands and just miraculously was only available on thingy. But
it's funny though. You just made a point about, how, and I get you may have been paraphrasing somewhat when you talk about how Digital Foundry perhaps expressed concern that things would start looking samey. And I'm like, look at Sea of Thieves. Does that look like an Unreal game? No, it's distinct visually. It's beautiful. It's all about how people take.
Unreal is a tool.
Yeah.
How you use that tool is up to you.
Yeah.
If you want to use the tool to just do the stock standard templates that they've got in there to help you whip up something real quick, then it's going to look samey. But you can use that tool however the hell you want to use it.
I think there is they're not completely out of kilter with that sentiment though, because you can see Unreal Engine 4 games do look like you could tell last gen when
three especially had that.
Oh my god! I would agree. That muddy, weird. I know what you. And
the shiny surfaces, like in Gears, yes.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're saying, and there was that, but I think that I don't think there's a risk of that happening. The dev tool is very malleable from my non-technical perspective. We've seen examples of them work already with Coalition. It has that realistic, gritty look, but I think Fortnite is also an example of how there's a lot of room to maneuver there. So
it's a much better looking game than people give it credit for.
And devs would move
texture work. Just great. Fortnite's so good now.
The decision would have been made lightly by CD Projekt Red, especially them after the crap that they've had with Stand. It's not just them taking the easy route out so that we can't build open world game engines, so we're going to just palm off to it. Crystal Dynamics doing it with Tomb Raider. That's the nail in the coffin as far as I'm concerned about that argument. That concern doesn't bother me. Well, time will tell. No. But I'm very excited about Unreal Engine 5. That looks incredible.
And I can't wait for Tomb Raider. But the funny thing is with Coalition, people forget Coalition are probably... There's an argument to be had that the Coalition are probably the most proficient studio outside of Epic themselves with the Unreal Engine. Like, Epic have contributed to that engine. Coalition have actually... contributed to that engine. They've worked that closely with Epic that stuff that Coalition were doing in Gears, Epic were like, oh wow, we basically didn't know you could do that in here. Let's get this back into the engine. Like, Coalition are just, I've had my issues with Gears as a franchise. I've been public about that many times on this podcast. Not really much of a fan of Gears anymore. 4 did nothing for me. 5 did nothing for me. But from a technical perspective,
beautiful.
I don't think pretty much almost anyone matches them. Like, it's funny. It's hard not to get caught up because Sony are so smart with their photo modes and people have a way of making those games look better than they actually do when you play them through the photo modes and post-processed GIFs and all sorts of other stuff that goes on. You forget certain things. So I was like, I'm curious. So I went back and played Gears 5. And I'm like, man, this game is way better looking than it's given credit
The
for. Like,
series patch that they did for free is it's still the best upgrade there's been between generations.
like I don't know. Like I and at the time I was switching between The Last of Us 2 on PS5 and Gears 5 on Series X, and I'm like, man, the arguments were all wrong here. Like, in my opinion, I thought Gears 5 was the better looking game.
Gears 5,
and that was open world.
That's actually the point I was going to make. Is the fact that Sony get to their games, like you say, are tightly curated. There's a lot of very tightly curated. Compared The Last of Us to how open Gears is, how many subsystems there are there, how the multiplayer works there, it did that so proficiently. The Coalition really showed the visual integrity is quite, it maintains it throughout consistently, and there's a lot of destruction and stuff. So yeah, I do agree with you. I think Sony get a bit of a pass there because of their game design, especially the Last of Us 1, for instance. Really restrictive game design. The Order 886 is extremely linear and corridor. That's why you could do visuals that look like
I do love how that game looks, though. I do absolutely love how that game looks. Like, and what that's part of the reason I've always called for Gears to go back to being I want it to become a hyper-linear survival horror game, because
I agreed.
If they Jesse, stop shaking your head. Stop shaking your head. If Gears went like hyper linear and tight and more focused, I feel like Coalition could go absolutely bonkers with the visuals and basically make it look real. If you think
100%.
about how talented they are, and they wouldn't have to worry about an open world and AI and physics and this, that, just make it the most linear thing you can think of, as a nice, tight survival horror game. And man, what they could do with Unreal Engine 5 and a game like that.
I know it's a bit of a divergent tangent, but not just technically. Gears as a franchise and the direction going that way, it's screaming for it. It's actually, and I know it's contentious, but actually that's the spirit of the first game, the way they showed it. If they nail it down, slow down the pace, make it brutal survival horror combat,
dark, scary,
hard-hitting combat where the shreds of flesh just bobbing and because of your bullet sponging, sliding around like you're from the Matrix now. It's especially in multiplayer, like you could see the encounters from miles away because they've got these conveniently placed blocks here and pillars here, and it's to me it had diminishing returns after the third game, even second.
I suspect
they could make a hard-hitting, weapon-sounding sick. The chainsaw cutting through locust flesh, have a mechanic where you have to go navigate around the armor to cut the flesh. How sick would that be?
I know.
I agree with you.
100%. I suspect that neither of you will get your wish, and I think that the next years will almost be Tomb Raider-esque in its approach to character movement, and it will become a fully fledged third-person
survival horror
action
Prince of Gears.
I understand. That's why I see it going.
Gears that's horrible. That sounds horrendous.
That's how I see it happening.
But I will say, the next question that needs to be asked from that Unreal Engine thing and Crystal Dynamics. Well, Crystal Dynamics, so we found out they've now started Tomb Raider. How big are they where they're working on both on Tomb Raider and Perfect Dark?
Well, Tomb Raider should be in pre-prod, right? And that's just a recruitment call.
Maybe. Oh, yeah, maybe. That's true.
Yeah. And I wasn't talking about quick time executions. I was talking about real time navigating the through flesh. This is fake, by the way. It's a fake rubber.
Yeah, it's the one you used in our video. Maybe does that mean that Perfect Dark is further along than we think? I don't know.
I know for a fact it is. I got so much hate for that. It's so obvious it is further away. Just take your time and get that game right. But I think it is. I so.
We'll see.
I don't know.
We'll see.
We have a few more super chats, I think.
Hit us up. What we got?
We've got Hugit Chani. Do you think Microsoft will eventually tell us numbers again?
If they hit the milestone,
Wow.
yes. They hit it when it's convenient for them. They definitely will.
Yeah, see, it's funny. Like, look, we'll have a discussion about something off air. But anyway, like, let's just live in a world for a second. Let's just live in a world where
Okay,
Microsoft's sales numbers and Sony's sales numbers are neck and neck. Let's just live in that world for a second.
Whoa, that sounds crazy.
Yeah, impossible, right?
Impossible.
Now, let's say Microsoft are like, oh, we're selling super well, we're ahead of Sony, let's report the numbers, we're kicking ass. I would still tell them, don't report the numbers. Don't do it.
Why?
Like, well, what do you mean? Like, think about it. Ever since they stopped reporting the numbers, the narrative was, you stopped reporting numbers because you're selling like crap. That's the only reason you stopped reporting numbers and focused on MAU.
Mm-hmm.
If they suddenly, 10 years later, start reporting numbers again because they happen to be outselling Sony, doesn't that send the exact message that people were bagging them
Yeah.
for?
Is
Well, what's the
effectively telling
utility?
everybody you're right. We were totally
mean?
not telling numbers.
But think about it. Well, they're going to weigh up. Are they really going to care about what core gaming sentiment about this is versus the utility of the wider masses making the statement that Xbox has outsold PlayStation? Boom.
Okay,
the
yes.
utility of that versus some core gamers and PlayStation fanboys crying about the hypocrisy of the statement. In fact, that could be delivered in a way that isn't. It could be dropped out like through other third-party channels, and also.
That's what I was about to say.
Oh, okay. Well,
That is what I was about to say. Don't Microsoft report the numbers, leak the numbers to someone reputable. Zooge is all about analytics and reporting numbers. Leak the numbers to Zooge. Leak the numbers to Mr. Schreier. Leak the numbers to Jeff Grubb. Let the numbers get out a different way. Don't you report the numbers, because then all you're doing is reinforcing that message. Because what's going to happen if Sony starts outselling them again? Oh, well, we're not reporting the numbers. It's all about MAU this month now. Well, hold on a second. So I agree with you how strong, especially now, more than ever, I agree with you how strong that message is that, oh, well, look at this. So, because right now the message being reinforced is that no matter how well Xbox is doing, Sony still has like a 5 mil gap on them. But if all of a sudden information came out to the contrary, it changes public perception. So I completely agree with you there. But they've got a delicate balance to strike there because they don't want to reinforce.
They should give that information to who is the one source you could give that information to that's third party that everyone would believe, okay, that's
Jason
true.
Schreier.
Yeah, exactly. And if they gave that information to Jason Schreier, you would never break the news because he would never say he
wouldn't report on it.
Yeah.
Give it. If you give it to Jason or Dring,
Schreier jumps off building. No, that's a bit too. But Jason Schreier would be like, he will actually jump on that. That's the guy. I love how quick John was to jump on that sentiment. It was Jason Schreier.
But that's why I said that. I said give it to a Zooge or give it to a Schreier and leak it to them. Like I'm guessing Jason Schreier has someone at Microsoft. He must. Like, surely someone in that position with his connections, he must have someone at Microsoft. Just leak the numbers, assuming the numbers are better than what people assume.
Yeah.
Leak those numbers to Jason. That way, as far as everyone's concerned, those numbers are official because Jason Schreier reported on them, but Microsoft said nothing. No, we still focus on MAU. It's all about MAU for us. We don't care about sales numbers. We don't care about boxes. Jason leaked that, and we didn't want him to, or something like that. That is how I would approach it if I were in their position. I would not be the one.
There's loads of ways. It could be a leaked email that was...
all sorts of stuff. Leaked email. Yeah, and you know what? You could even leak it through me, because no one believes me. So just leak it through me, and then it doesn't even get any attention. That's right. Just use me to leak it. Who cares? I would advise Microsoft if this were happening based on Hargeet's super chat. I would advise Microsoft, no, do not report those numbers. Like officially, in an official capacity, do not report those numbers, because I just think it makes them look worse. Personally. But yeah, wow, that was quite a chat from the super
That
chat.
was a tangent. From the super chat.
Widya Santoso, wow, doesn't that guy from the demo look like Nick? Oh, come on, let's not. I don't look like everyone. I don't look like everyone. I am too ugly.
That could be an old version of you. That could be an old person of you.
I am too ugly to be an everyman. And that everyman look is reserved for good-looking people. I am not good-looking enough to be an everyman.
Oh, come on, you're saucy, Nick.
I have a very specific. I have a very specific look.
Sitting there, like waiting for the praise to come in. Like,
I have a very specific look, and it is that Pablo Shia LaBeouf-esque look.
LaBeouf. Oh, I don't know.
I don't know. I just say LaBeouf. Okay, there's all right. Oh, here we go. A couple more super chats. Jason, who's a friend of Carlos's and mine. Jason has like a random what could be a mistake super chat with no comment for $8. Thanks, Jason. Tuna. And he also has a $3 super chat. Hungry for another Gears. Yes, Jason is a massive Gears fan. I've had discussions with him many times on Rocket League about how it should be a survival horror game.
Does he
But he does.
Oh, good.
He does.
There you go.
He's a big Gears fan, though.
Maybe
Loves
maybe
Gears.
you're
Interesting. That's interesting.
But you know, so we saw a new Tomb Raider announced. But the other interesting announcement that really caught my eye and made me kind of like very pleased, although I'm wondering how they're going to pull all of this off, was Remedy announced that they are in partnership with Rockstar remaking, not remastering, remaking Max Payne 1 and 2 in the Northlight engine that they did for Control and Quantum Break,
Very
interesting, etc. Now, I'm all for this, right? I loved Max Payne 1 and 2. I'm very curious to see how they'll evolve certain bits. But I'm surprised at how much Remedy, a small studio of like 200
are doing.
There's a lot of stuff on their plate right now. Maybe remaking a game is easier than I don't know, but there's a lot, right? Well, they've got those two. They've got Alan Wake 2. They've got what else have they got?
They've got like 4 or 5.
Yeah,
they finished Crossfire X. That's done.
Yeah. I've had people pinging me saying, didn't you say they were doing a Sony exclusive? And I was like, well, I had heard they were. Like, the funny thing is, the rumor was on Reddit. There was a rumor on Reddit that Sony was, there was a Remedy exclusive with Sony. I then literally screenshotted a DM of mine. And this is what I keep telling people. All my info comes from DMs in Discord. I've shown them to Gaz, I've shown them to John, I've shown them to Jesse, I've shown them to a lot of people. That's how I get all my info.
Yeah.
And I posted one of those DMs on Twitter, quote tweeting that Reddit thread saying, I've heard something similar. Like, I think this might be real because my source had said a while back that Remedy are doing an exclusive with Sony. Is it possible that has changed? Maybe. I don't know. Maybe something fell through. Maybe Remedy were like, okay, well, we've got so many projects now, we don't need to do this. I don't know. I have no idea how that's going. And I'm saying this because so many people have been tagging me on Twitter about it. I'm not sure if and when that Sony exclusive Remedy game is still happening. I'm honestly not sure if everything has changed there. Because I asked my source too. I was like, oh, a lot of people are asking me this. Is it still happening? They're like, even they said they're not sure. They're saying things might have changed now. They said to me, it seems like Remedy don't need that help anymore. They've got so much on.
They've got a lot of contracts on.
It could have just been an in-principle agreement that had started between Sony and Remedy without anything written down, without anything having started, and now they've got so many jobs going they don't need to do it anymore. I don't know. It's just, sorry about the tangent, but people kept tagging me and we were talking about Remedy, so
yeah, no, it makes sense.
I thought I'd mention it.
I think, John, you're right.
Everything in chat. They've got a lot that they're doing right now.
Yeah, they have a sequel. Yeah, Control the Condor. That's the multiplayer spin-off. The comment that you made, John, I think there's some truth to it. I think definitely truth to it, just based on scope. But it most likely is comparatively a lot easier and simpler to remake a game that's already been made on your engine. So then you will need a comparatively far smaller team to make that. So I think that
I hope so. I want to play them soon. Like I haven't played those games in a long while. And I remember I played the first Max Payne when I got my first ever surround sound system. And do you remember the whole blood trail baby screaming level?
Oh my!
Remember
This is
that?
what we were talking about in our show. Like,
it gave me goosebumps at the time because it was so haunting and the audio was so like absolutely nuts because they supported.
I hated that level,
and I was like, I came out of it like feeling all shaky and gross.
Yeah.
It had been screaming. It is crash course for parenthood. But yeah.
Yeah, that's Crash Course for Parenthood, is it? That's it's yeah,
a really
it's,
bad parenthood.
Yeah, really bad parenting. Well, that announcement is great. Someone in chat said Remedy are overrated, and I'm not a massive fan of what they did with Quantum Break or Control but their talent is obvious, at least as far as the engine is concerned. If we played Quantum Break back, and it looks amazing even to this day, it just thematically and some system gameplay-wise wasn't all that for me. Control was the same. Like, I liked shooting things around and looking at their physics, and the game world was unique. It kind of reminded me of X-Files, but mixed with whatever. But I think this will be I'm very confident with what Remedy will do here because, one, they have a proven track record with Max 1 and 2. Let's be honest, it's going to be difficult if you have appreciable effort into these two remakes. It's going to be incredible. I can see it. I can visualize that running on Northlight, running really well.
Be good.
And I hope it succeeds to the point where we get a Max Payne 4, because Max Payne 3, despite being 2 generations old, to this day it looks like no game plays like it, like apart from maybe you'll talk about what the hell is Jesse doing. That was scary. If you don't know people, chat, you just put up like a scary doll that looks something from The Ring or
from a horror movie.
Yeah,
my wife likes her American Girl dolls, and it's been staring at me, and I had to do it.
My daughter has one of those. She has an American Girl doll. She doesn't play with it anymore, but she has one. It was so hard to get to. Jesus Christ, those things.
It looks so scary. But no, honestly, Max Payne 3 needs a bloody remaster, not even a remake. The game is so good, visually so proficient, the games, the physics, like I don't see gunplay like that to this day.
No,
what game has that?
It's Xbox. It's Xbox Series X exclusive too.
Yeah,
Max Payne 3.
Backlog. Yeah, the back compat. If you haven't played it, play it now. I challenge you to hate it, unless you're a Max Payne stan, because some people.
I bought
really
it digitally. Like,
direction.
How long ago was it? I remember one day I was at my cousin's house and someone messaged me going, pricing error, Max Payne 3 is $3 Australian right now. So I just jumped on. It's just started buying it on multiple people's accounts because it was only $3.
Goodbye.
And then when it went backwards compatible, I'm like, ching ching, there it is. It's just appeared in my list. So good.
You win. Good. Outside of that, the only other couple of things to mention news-wise this week, I know we had a big Halo tangent. It's worth mentioning. The Halo Infinite Season 2 trailer dropped. We briefly kind of discussed it, so I won't go too much into it. But Microsoft did announce something that was moderately interesting, and that is their new mentoring program. So they announced this, and it was apparently first introduced on International Women's Day. It was a mentoring program to give access to valuable one-on-one coaching sessions with key leaders in different markets across the world. So US, UK, Australia, France, Germany, all of that stuff, with more markets to follow. And you can go on and you can register. And I think initially it was kind of framed as, hey girls, we want more girls in the industry. But to my knowledge, this is just a general mentoring program, right? So
and isn't it a pathway into the gaming industry?
It looks that way, yeah. What you can bring, what your passions are, how you can find your way in, all of that sort of thing. And look, this program being what it is, I'm sure everybody sitting in this StreamYard on this podcast has probably thought in some way, shape, or form about what can I do in this industry, and this is how we've ended up. But there's certainly probably going to be people at home listening and or watching now on YouTube. If you aren't aware of this and you're a big Xbox fan and you feel you can bring something to the team, go check it out. Go.
Is that for women only? Because all the women.
it was first introduced on International Women's Day, so it was made a big deal about. And they do highlight the fact that, hey, we want to let more women come into this industry, and they gave a bunch of facts and figures as to, you know, why that's a good thing and so on. But I don't believe it is just for women. It's never specifically stated that way. So I don't think it discriminates in that form.
I think
it's
more
just
than
obviously women
gender,
are encouraged.
Yeah, definitely, it needs to be happening. But more than gender, I would like more geography as well. Africa. So I was doing some research this morning because I want to do a series where I actually go to African countries and gaming in Africa. I think it'd be really, no one's done that, and I'd just love to do that. And just an excuse for me to go to the Gambia
Visit
as well.
cool places in the world. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I think there's so much untapped talent there. Obviously, there's a challenge there with, you know, the economies and whatnot, and tech and accessibility. But there's so many bright and like talented people there. I hope they extend that to Africa and other different regions where, you know, typically don't see much exposure for. I just think it just, because we talk about like representation in games and stuff, and a lot of it to me, and it's going to sound, it's not meant to be, it's like pandering or whatever. I hate the word virtue signaling, but whatever. But when you really want to cater for a diversity in games, beyond just doing like some of these like very surface level sentiment, like, okay, we put like Marvel, like I'm Pakistani, and then like Miss Marvel's from Pakistan, and that's kind of cool, but there's more to it than that. So if you go a game in Africa based on African culture, something different, like surely you'll only get these games where they're made by Africans, like they understand our culture super well.
I get what you're saying. Like there's been indie, and I think indie games is often where this is most explored. Like there was a wonderful one from based on Inuit culture, and I can't remember the name of it, but you're in the snow, and it's all based on the Inuit legends and stuff like that. There was one on Game Pass. Jesse, keep my memory good here. Raja. It was based on Indian legend that was in Game Pass. And I think, you know, certainly as these different creators are getting access to these tools and they're able to bring some of their culture and actually tell a story or show a little bit of that culture in a game, I love that when it happens. And I agree with you. I think that is another form of that really aspirational diversity, where instead of it's just, you know, oh, this character that you play as is from where you are, this game is telling something about, you know, your place in history or something to that effect. And, you know, as a UK based white male, I don't have a lot of say in that, but I love that gaming is another avenue that I get to go out and get little tastes of these different places without having to go there and learn something through a medium I love. And because games are so interactive, it's one great way to share what your culture is about. And I completely agree with the sentiment.
The games you're talking about, Never Alone was the Inuit culture one, and Raji is the Indian.
That's the one. Yeah.
There's a lot of potential there. Yeah. No, extend that, and shout out to Microsoft for doing that. I think everyone needs to do it, especially, well, Japan's covered, but Sony does that, obviously. That's their culture. There's so much opportunity there for game. And it's not just like, I don't like the, you know me, I'm not woke and all that stuff, but I think do that meaningfully it's going to be incredible. I think there's so much untapped potential there. It's why Black Myth Wukong to me looks so amazing. That's Chinese culture. Looks like, what is that special? Because of the art direction, not just visual fidelity of that game, but there's lots of scope there. Gaming has so much to do. So and that's what excites me.
If Microsoft want to hit 3 billion gamers, you know, the next 15-year-old living in Africa who might have access to this and might grow up with this as his passion or her passion could be the next person that designs the next big game in 20 years, you know, and this is how this all starts. So I like seeing stuff like this.
If you want to pay someone to devote the rest of their life to doing Africa, I will take that very healthy salary and do that.
What about GameOn Daily?
GameOn Daily will do it. GameOn Daily will do it.
There you go. GameOnDaily.com. Go visit. Now, we're at the part in our show where we like to have a brief moment to just say thank you to all of our patrons. That's right. If you're listening and are watching this and it's your first time, or even if it's your 104th, and you're not supporting us on Patreon, please consider doing so. It's as cheap as a cup of coffee or as expensive as a nice t-shirt. And indeed, if you do choose the expensive route, you do get things like nice t-shirts and stickers and other sorts of things. Or at the minimum, you get no adverts on our forums. But everybody on Patreon does get access to the Patreon Lounge, which is where you get to ask us all sorts of fun questions every week on this podcast. And we love doing it. So big thank you to all of our patrons. You're all wonderful people. And with that, I think we'll jump into our list of community questions, Nick. Yes?
We got questions that we should have asked at the start. Got it. But we're still struggling with that
the tangent,
blending the community questions in with the rest of the show. We're still struggling getting used to that.
I'll start going through and I'll make a list of different topics that each question hits, and I can push them to you when it happens.
Yeah, there's a question here that's directly for Gaz and about GameOn Daily. That would have been a great time to ask him back when we were talking about that at the start of the show. But
He can advertise again at the end, why not?
Yep, okay.
Why not? But let's go through.
All right, let's go through. First one. There's actually not that many this week, which is good. Dirty Fleet. Hey, panel. If you had an extra $20 to spend, what do you get? $20 to spend on what? On what?
Inflation now. It's like a box of 2 boxes of cereal at the point in the UK. It's so expensive.
Grab a coffee and a Danish. I don't know. $20 on what?
I mean, 20 quid is a fair amount of cash still in my book. That can go a long way.
McDonald's meal.
You don't live in London, John. That's too
I think I don't have to commute there too often. I am in London next Wednesday, Gaz, if you're about.
Next Wednesday? I'm actually in London. Oh. Let's talk.
Let's off air.
Off air.
Let's do this off air.
I would buy some really, really nice streaky bacon and have some sort of barbecue bacon breakfast tomorrow morning. If I had £20 right now to go and spend, I'd buy some really good bacon with it. There you go.
Okay. Cool.
Thanks, Dirty Flint. Love those questions.
Next question. Topp. Hello, gents. I didn't realize you were all such Transformers fans. In the last episode, you showed us what you sound like as a Transformer. So my question this week is, if you were a Transformer, what would you transform into? And would you be an Autobot or a Decepticon?
Decepticon day. Day.
As the king of making stuff up and deceiving people, I would most certainly be a Decepticon.
I always try and be the goodie, so I'm going to be an Autobot. So,
what would I turn into?
Decepticon all day.
I'd turn into a coffee machine. I'd transform into an espresso machine. I'd just turn myself into a coffee machine and piss out a cappuccino, transfer back and drink it.
Drink yourself. What went in that, Nick? What went in that? Ew.
That's the path I'd take.
I would transform into a really nice Dodge Challenger or something like that. I don't know. Just to enjoy having that car.
Boring.
Sorry, I'm an Autobot. I am boring by my very nature. Yay, let's search for peace and stuff. Gaz, what about you?
I'd be a sauce bottle.
Yeah, I knew you were going to say that.
It's so obvious. That's I've kind of nailed myself down to this niche. So
but you're a Decepticon, so you initially transform into a tomato sauce bottle, but then when they actually drink it, it's like a million Scoville hot sauce.
Yeah, exactly. That's me.
Where are these guys? Where are these liquids coming from in your transformations? Sorry, this is getting a bit grim. Here I am, I'd just be a cool car, and you guys are I'd force feed my own juices to people. You guys are wrong. There's something wrong with the both of you.
I've been doing it since GameOn Daily started. So.
We're in the sauce, literally.
Yeah. Creaky Legs. Thankfully, Creaky Legs does not have the same level of thesis that Creaky Legs had last week.
He might have a tweet that I should pop up right now.
Yes, you should pop this Creaky Legs tweet up. It came on while we've been live. There's a little tweet that Creaky Legs wanted to share. Well, let's see it on the screen. And let me give you a description if people aren't
Oh my god, what?
It's a picture of the Master Chief.
What is
with
that?
his thumb out, with Nick's face, but with Gaz on the butt cheek.
What is that?
Yo, that is the finest arse I've ever seen.
Look, that is one thing I was always famous for in my younger dating years. My rear end was always the stronger feature above all.
What about this side, dude?
Man.
Right, okay, that's enough of
was not ready for that.
Can't believe that was a tweet.
Anyway, what Creaky Legs was saying.
Yeah, the Creaky Legs. Hello, lads. In the spirit of being saucy this episode, I find it rather questionable that one of people's biggest complaints about Halo 5 campaign outside the story being all over the place was half the game you play as a badass character. Just like Halo 2, that so much of the toxic fanbase claims is the best Halo campaign, when half of that game you also play as a badass character. For the record, I have said for a long time that I think Halo 2 is one of the worst Halo campaigns, personally. And that has been exacerbated more so with time. I don't think Halo 2 is good at all, personally, but that's just me. Except one is an alien and the other is another Spartan. Also, the show has done more to push the story of Halo better than the games have. Sure, there are books that are canon to the games, but why should people care about the books if they're not even brave enough to put that story into the games? It's actually a pretty good point. That's why the games, as much as I love them, will never truly be more than they have been the past 20 years, because fans just want to feel like they're still teenagers or in college like the good old days when they're playing Halo. They're big gatekeepers, and primarily extremely toxic and hostile. Yeah, that's pretty true. Including multiple popular YouTubers who mostly cover Halo, spend more time being toxic about it than actually enjoy the series these days. Anyways, stay saucy, my friends.
That's a pretty saucy take. I think there was a lot of truth in the source there.
Agreed. And I completely agree. The games do a terrible job, in my opinion, of telling that story. There's so much there. And he's right. I haven't even seen the Halo TV series, and I'm sure he's correct about the fact that that series does more about explaining the game universe than the games do. But for some reason, they always relegate that. With Halo 4, it was to the terminals. So, like, why'd you do stuff with the librarian and the Forerunners? Put that in the main story. It's so good. Greg Bear's books are so good, hard sci-fi. They can go toe-to-toe with some of the biggest sci-fi IPs. So there's that. But the latter part of his sentiment about Halo's fans being, toxic, that can go either way. There's always a viewpoint. I mean, there's a lot of gatekeeping. I agree with you. I think there needs to... They're not tapping into the potential of Halo. I firmly believe that. When I watched Dune... which is an odd comparison, but Dune to me is a masterpiece, an absolute masterpiece.
What a movie!
Well, that took me number one, maybe joint with Blade Runner 2049 for me. I was shocked. I only watched it because Denis Villeneuve directed it. Didn't know anything about Dune. Didn't even know that Dune, the book by.
Oh, you read the books? Okay.
I'm reading it now. Now.
Yeah, good.
And it's amazing. Oh my god, there's so much in that with the mentats and all that. Anyway. That theme, it's so good. That's how I imagined what Halos could be thematically. That gravitas in that. Greg Bear's book, when I read it the way Denis Villeneuve portrayed Dune, and I just, there's so much. I've resigned to it that it won't be that. And can you imagine a series like that with Dune, with Halo? Dune and Halo, that meld them together thematically would be epic.
Here's a question for you guys, and a tangent off Creaky Legs thing. And yes, I agree primarily with the question, right? Or the comment, I should say, the take. But the only thing I'll say about negative YouTubers is, look, that's how the algorithm is, right? And if you fight against it, your growth is slow, your views are low. You put a spicy take out there. If this take was a YouTube channel's take, it would get more clicks than if you were positive and happy. It's just how YouTube is. But question to you as someone who's read the books, and Nick, I don't know if you've ever read any of the Halo books, probably not, right? It's like skipping a cutscene, like just throwing the book out the window. I don't know.
I think I started reading the start of The Fall of Reach. Like, I started reading the start of it, and I remember reading about John being a kid and the stories of them growing up, and that's about as far as I got in.
That's fine. So when they said they were going to do a Halo TV show, my immediate thought was, okay, we've got this great book, The Fall of Reach, which if any Halo fan who's dipped into the books is probably one of their faves, because it does such a great job of melding the politics of the world, talking about how dire. So the Spartans were created because there was a war against other humans called insurrectionists who were fighting against the UNSC. They were all the outer colonies. They touch on some of this in the show, but in the books, you go through this life cycle of I think Commander or Lieutenant Jacob Keyes being requisitioned by Catherine Halsey to go to these different planets and take children out of their actual homes, replace them with flash clones designed to die of a terminal illness after X period of months, and then taking these kids home, drop them in this boot camp, and surgically messing with them until they're turning into Spartans. And I pictured a show that took the preliminary start of The Fall of Reach, so the training and the infamous scene where he fights off against the ODSTs after he's had his augmentations, and he's like literally breaks them apart because he doesn't know his own strength. The scenes where Keyes does the Keyes maneuver in space, and you get this really cool space battle where he drags the plasma and it melts the
You're talking about the series?
I'm talking about the books.
Oh,
and
yeah, I was going to say that's like a faithful recreation. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But they've got all this stuff in the books, and I pictured the show kind of starting with adult John, and we'd be watching this war against the insurrectionists, and there wouldn't be any Covenant at all, and we'd be flashbacking to when they were kids and kidnapped and all of that, and we'd uncover this gross, dark past about all of it. And the finale, episode 10 of this new season, would be the Covenant appearing on Reach, or and everyone would be like, "Oh shit!"
This is coming now. That's coming. They're gonna hit. This is the moment in the book. Can you imagine?
But that is what I imagined, and it's not what we've got. And I'm kind of like,
that's why and
I think that's the problem so many Halo fans have now, is that we've unfortunately, rightly or wrongly, grown up with this series for 20 odd years. We've all got our own desires, hopes, dreams about seeing it on, the silver screen or the TV screen or whatever. And, we've got our own biases that are already inherent. We've all imagined it at some point if you're a big enough fan about what it would look like. So, it is what it is, but it's another Halo tangent. But
the universe is so dark, how it starts. Master Chief wasn't a good guy.
I love the maturity of the Halo show.
Maturity, that's the way the Dune, the thing. Yeah, there's so much that. Well, anyway, sorry, we talked about this.
we'll go off it. But yeah, that was
the show's so gory. I was so shocked at how gory it is.
Oh, really? Okay, that's good.
It is a hard R of a show.
Yeah, I was shocked. I'm like, wow.
Okay, now I'm interested because I like my violence.
I was just
okay.
Because the games aren't gory.
Girl's head explode. This is a show for you.
Oh, she is.
Yeah,
now
and that's the thing.
Well, how am I going to watch
it? The games aren't ultra violent and never have been. That's not what they're known for. So I was shocked from the first episode to see people full on getting exploded and stuff. I'm like, whoa, what's going on here?
Jesse's right. The books are violent. The Spartan program led to loads of disabled people.
Yeah, it's insane. It's really good. But yeah, there you go, Creaky Legs. That was a tangent. Thanks, buddy.
Okay.
What we got next?
Good old Collingwood. And it's funny, good old Collingwood ends this question with crying emojis. I assume that's because of last night. I was not happy last night at the way we lost that game. But anyway.
Oh, dear.
Good old Collingwood. Hello, John, Nick, and Jesse, and welcome, Gaz. Aren't awards shows great? No, I'm not referring to the infamous 2022 Oscars, but last Thursday's BAFTA Games Awards. This is a shout out and congratulations to the nominees and winners, and especially to two winners, The Artful Escape for artistic achievement. I messaged Johnny in Discord and said, congrats, mate, on the award. And like 2 days later, he's like, I'm super hungover.
I like Johnny fucking Galvatron.
He's like, thanks, man. I'm real drunk and hungover.
What, G?
Anyway. And to Unpacked for Narrative and EE Game of the Year, both Australian developers. Witchbeam, the developers behind Unpacked, were so surprised for winning the narrative award they didn't prepare a speech. So they were doubly unprepared when they won the EE award. What's EE?
Suitable for everyone, I presume. Like, it's like a rating, E for everyone. So
What's EE? Double E.
E for everyone. That's how it's. I don't know. I didn't watch the show, so
okay.
I'm just assuming. But I think it's generally accessible to everybody across the world, kind of.
I think public vote. EE is public voting. I think.
Well, he says here the only publicly voted award.
Yeah.
Johnny Galvatron was not able to travel to Britain, and so the award was collected on his behalf. Nick, have you had a chance to talk to Johnny about the award? Oh, well, there you go. Yeah, I have, mate. I have had a chat to him about it.
Oh. Can I just quickly go take a pee? My bladder is destroying me. I'll be right back.
Go.
Could have typed that one in the private chat, but no worries. Just to correct myself, the EE.
He did type it in the private chat a minute ago.
I didn't see.
Okay.
But EE is actually just the brand. It's the telco brand that was sponsoring BAFTA. So ignore me. It is not E for everyone.
Okay.
I'm a moron.
Okay. The last part. Also, XboxEra podcast alumni Phil Spencer was on hand to give Hello Games the award for Evolving Game for No Man's Sky, which he presented from his office. What's on his shelf? And he's posted a very unflattering picture of Phil who looks, I don't know. Is Jesse putting it up?
I'll put it up right now. It's a pretty rough screen grab.
Like this picture of Phil is not flattering at all. But in terms of what's on his shelf, I note there's a new sword. There's a giant sword at the top of his shelf.
There is a giant
That's
sword.
new. That sword is new, and it's replaced the Watchdog skull thing. Which is very interesting, that sword. Where's that sword from? Is that a Witcher sword? I don't know.
I don't know. Is it a Elder Scrolls sword? Is it a... Could be... Who knows?
I don't know what that sword is. Maybe I'll ask Phil.
Could be
I'll ask
Valve.
Phil what that sword's about. But, good old Collingwood. Last night was disappointing, and I have spoken to Johnny. Johnny, I told him, I said, congrats, mate, well deserved. That game deserved way more visual awards. Like, that is
and audio.
Still just one of the most beautiful games, The Artful Escape. Have you played it, Kaz?
I have. I almost completed it. And I was only on the back of Colt's recommendation. He had the chat on the show. He was so cool. Such a nice guy. He was obviously super lit on the show as well, which was hilarious. That's the rocker lifestyle, and I love it.
It's funny. I said on an episode, because Johnny's in Melbourne, we caught up for a coffee a while back, and it freaked me out to see him without his glasses for the first time, because he's always wearing those glasses. So it completely freaked me out to see him just as a regular dude without those glasses on. It was very, very funny.
And I think I know what sword that is. Comparing it to Bandai Namco stuff they sell, it looks like one of the Elden Ring swords from them.
Really?
Oh, wow. Cool.
Interesting.
From software acquisition confirmed.
From software. Wouldn't they have to buy Kadakawa or whoever it is to get... unless From was just up and willing to... unless Kadakawa were just up and willing to let From go, Microsoft would have to buy the parent company, would they not?
God knows. God knows.
I don't know. Yeah. I made a video on PlayStation Studios they could acquire, and I mentioned From Software, but someone said that, so I don't know.
Look, I wouldn't be surprised if they're interested in From. Wouldn't be surprised at all.
I don't think From will be interested in selling, though, because they're quite successful.
But again, it's not From. It's the parent company.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. Money talks in the end, and Microsoft has a lot of it.
And it's a seller's market now, so
It is, very much so. Okay, Cade Forever. Man, I wish we had mentioned this one earlier. Hello, panel. So we got news a few days ago that Remedy will now be remaking Max Payne 1 and 2. That's fantastic. However, what is not fantastic is that now Remedy has a grand total of 5 projects in the works. Are they biting off more than they can chew? Remedy has never gone past one project at a time, and it feels like a Platinum situation where they're just taking on work at an alarming rate without a second thought. Has a bit of a point there. Remedy's currently announced games: Control Sequel, Alan Wake 2, Project Vanguard, Project Condor, and Max Payne remakes. That is a lot for that big studio.
And they only just finished the terrible Crossfire X campaigns. They just finished those.
Yeah, he sounds a bit like a robot, doesn't he, John?
Yeah, I thought it was just me. I thought my stream messed up there.
No.
I was worried.
Sounds like a little bit of a
Jesse
robot.
went all robot-y. He's bringing it back for a sequel today.
Am I good now, or am I still robot?
Yes, now you are. Now you're good.
Okay.
Computers are dumb.
But yeah, I mean, we talked about Remedy before. There is a chance
to call out.
They're pulling a bit of a Platinum. Having said that, they're probably better equipped to handle modern game development better than Platinum. Like I've said before, Platinum still feels like a studio that's developing for Gen 7 and Gen 6 that are struggling with game development these days.
Yeah.
But, I mean, look, let's give Remedy the benefit of the doubt. We haven't seen them in this situation yet where they're developing so many multiple big projects at once. Let's see how they handle it. Hopefully it doesn't work out to be a disaster.
Indeed.
Proven. I wish we had asked this to Gaz at the start. Hello, Gaz. I have 2 questions for you. Where do you see GameOn Daily in 5 years? And where do you see the industry in 5 years? Is Xbox's vision of a subscription service future a winner, or is it just a fad that doesn't last? Thanks.
Okay, great question. Game on Daily in 5 years, if everything goes to plan, we would like that to be synonymous with the way core gamers get their gaming content on mobile. And hopefully, God willing, that happens. So let's see. That's where, that's the aim. Let's see. But great question. And sorry, the second question was, where do I see the game industry in 5 years?
Yeah, and is Microsoft's subscription plan like, is it a winner or is it just a fad?
Well, in 5 years, I think we will all miss Sony and the gaming space. Goodbye, Sony. I was just kidding. That was a bit of sauce there. No, in 5
Just a smidge. Just a dab of hot sauce.
Just a little bit. No, in 5 years, I think it's going to be a long generation, by the way. The way the silicon shortages, the scope for what these incredible machines can deliver. I think we're going to see a lot of the concerns here about consolidation will just be out the window. I think streaming services will come to the fore. I'll be very interested in Hargeet's working on a great video for us on this topic. Cloud, I would be interested to see where. I don't have the answers. I don't have a crystal ball, but I would like to see where cloud gaming and mobile gaming goes. Because if the investment speaks, the investment that all these parties are putting into it, it would be incredible to see cloud. I really believe in the power of the cloud. That sounds horrible to say after what happened with Crackdown. But no, I really do believe that's where the future's heading. Subscriptions, the Fire Stick to your TV should be a thing at that point. Game Pass on your TV, on your mobile.
Or just get the app on the smart TVs.
Exactly, get the app.
Hurry up and get the app.
Yeah, and I think that's where the future is heading. And when that's where I'd like to see it. I think a lot of people get threatened by the notion of that because it threatens their typical hardware-based gaming experience. But I don't think they have to be mutually exclusive.
Don't you find that funny? I've said this before, but don't you find it odd that in a technology space, which is gaming, that is so ahead of the curve and advanced, right? Gaming as a technology industry is probably, I'd argue, maybe further ahead than just about anything.
Apart from porn. The porn industry does lead the tech.
Oh,
it did.
I know.
In the Blu-ray and VHS.
They decided the format was
and
twice. Yeah, and VR. Yes, we've spoken about that also. Isn't it funny that for a tech industry that's so on the cutting edge constantly, the fans are almost the complete opposite and don't want to let go of the past and move into the future with new forms of consumption and technology and all that. I just find that odd. That juxtaposition is very, very weird to me.
It is a bit strange. It's like they have to be dragged kicking and screaming. Like the Xbox One was trying to do what the Xbox Series X and Game Pass have done naturally. And I'd argue the only difference is Microsoft didn't say, this is how it is. They said, here's a product that is packed with value you decide, and that's the only difference. I think that's, people don't like being told what to do. I think that's the crux of it. By making everything a value add, by making it additive to your native experience, that's how you get people to adopt it into the future. But yeah, it is very true. Like for a bunch of people that are like the cutting edge tech, so many people willingly holding on to physical discs, or I hate
just
day
the
one
old way of
patches
doing things.
Yeah, it's bizarre.
It's because the medium and core gamers feel a sense of pride and ownership in this space compared to other mediums, because it's a very fresh medium. It's a very new medium. We were there, like obviously Amiga and then Sega. So there's a lot of nostalgia in it. We feel threatened that with this, the same thing with consolidation, the same thing with tech as well. And then they negatively associate streaming with input latency, and where you say, well, hold on, in the future, if there's no latency, but ownership of games, I want to hold the physical the industry also thrives on that nostalgia. Argument. Yeah, it does. It is. But that people are like that.
Argument's the dumbest argument, and I'll never not say that it's not the dumbest argument. You don't own your games, even those physical ones. I know that no one's going to come take them off you, but legally and technically, you don't even own those physical games.
It's just
and I don't understand why people don't get it.
Yeah. And that's the thing. Unless you're foreseeing some kind of calamity where the internet is removed, then in that case, you really have better things to the post-apocalyptic world. Just feed your family as opposed to try to play video games. I don't understand, but you're a great point. Like they're very close-minded. A lot of people are very close-minded.
I think as a kid, if Game Pass existed when I was a kid, it would have been the greatest thing ever. I would have been like, what? My mum can just pay $10 a month and I've got 300 games I can play? Oh my God, this is the most amazing thing ever.
Yeah. My kids love it.
You sound like a little cheer girl, like, oh my God. You sound like an American cheer.
But as a kid, imagine if Sega had Game Pass and I had a Mega Drive and I'm just paying $10 every month, and I got Streets of Rage 2 the day it came out, and I got Sonic the Hedgehog 3 the day it came out, and then I just would have been, my mind would have been blown as, like, I would just be like, what? This is amazing.
I don't know if it's the Australian accent, but as you mentioned that, as Alana Pierce's sentiments came to my mind, because she said the same thing. As a kid, and we didn't like it, I was in Pakistan, it's not like we had masses of money, and the translated. That's why we ended up pirating all our games. So
did Australia.
So I had early Game Pass with the PlayStation, thanks to Pakistan. But piracy. But yeah, like a lot of people say the same thing. It would have been we're so spoiled. We're so spoiled. We're so spoiled.
Games were $120 back in the 90s. So imagine if I only had to pay $10 a month for a year. That's $120, but I'm getting 300 games instead of one game.
Makes a big difference. Big difference.
And I mean, let's be honest, to Proven's question, that's where it's all heading. Even Sony's dipping their toes. Like, to all these people that are like, nah, Sony's never going to do day one. Yes, they are. They just can't do it right this second.
They're going to do it either, but they don't want to, because I don't know if I agree on that model. They want that Nintendo model. They want they are not poised to deal with to mobilize as quick. If they had the resources, they cannot compete with Microsoft on that grander stage. They're less equipped to do so. I don't think
that's true. Yeah. But I think Jim alone, Jim wants to. I don't know about the rest of it. Sony Japan especially would be very resistant. But I think Jim deep down does want to do it, and that's why you're seeing them acquire studios. That's why you're seeing so many of these studios doing multiplayer and games as a service games. They want to do it.
But they're readying themselves. That's what I'm saying. They're readying themselves to get to that.
They're doing it slowly.
Position. Yeah.
They're doing it slowly.
Right now, they don't want it. They're going to extract the max value out of this model. This literally squeezing the juice out of it right now with the $70 and all this and the PlayStation brand. But yeah, you're right. They are mobilizing to get to
even
the
Nintendo,
very enviable position of Xboxes.
Yes. Nintendo will never do what Microsoft is doing and where Sony is heading. Let's get that out there right now. But even Nintendo's dipping their toe in. They've got the NSO, where they've got the retro games, pay a little bit more and you get the Nintendo 64 and the Mega Drive games. Like, even Nintendo is dipping their toe in that model. Now, I don't ever see Nintendo adopting the Game Pass model personally. I mean, never say never. Nothing is impossible. It's just Nintendo, like, if Sony moves at a glacial pace, what's slower than a glacier? That's Nintendo. Like, whatever is slower than a glacier, that is Nintendo. So if Nintendo was to adopt the Game Pass model, we won't be alive to see it. Let's put it that way. We will not be. I'm 40. I won't be alive to see it.
Yeah,
So,
I see where you're coming from with that. I don't have any views either. I mostly agree with what you're saying. I don't disagree. I just don't know what will happen. But I don't think even Nintendo even needs to do that. So yeah, I think you're right.
No. Because what people forget, and part of the reason why I don't think Nintendo will ever adopt it, it's not everyone just says, but Sony sells so many copies of their games. They don't. They highlight the handful that they do, but they forget about the dozens that don't. Let's get that there right now. Nintendo sells a lot of just about all their games. Like, even Nintendo's bad selling games still sell in the millions. Like, and I think people forget that. But more so to that, forget the fact that Animal Crossing is at 35 and Mario Kart's probably 40 million. What people forget about Nintendo, that does not apply to Sony and does not apply to Microsoft, is that Nintendo's games don't cost a lot of money to make. So they make so much more money when they sell 20 million, 10 million, 5 million copies than Sony and Microsoft do. That's why the Game Pass model makes more sense for Microsoft than Sony. Because I've always said this, and I will continue to say it. If Sony adds their games day one into PlayStation Plus, they will surpass Microsoft subscriber numbers so fast. So fast. And why would Sony not want 50 million, 40 million people every month, giving them $10, $15, $18? Why wouldn't they?
Because Jim Ryan said the quality of their first-person exclusives.
Jim Ryan says what he needs to say at the time he needs to say it. Can we just not be that naive, people? Like, seriously.
It's a BS statement.
Oh my God, that was the... Yeah, it affects the quality.
People love to help.
But the dumbest part is that Metacritic just came out and showed what a dumb statement that was. Metacritic, the thing that Sony fanboys cling to more than anything else. Microsoft just had a record-breaking Metacritic year, but apparently Game Pass affects quality of games. Well, hold on, which is it? Like,
could argue that, yeah.
Well, they did. They just had the highest rated.
That's true. I'm just like the devil's advocate. That's like a lot of those games were in gestation development before, Psychonauts. Although Psychonauts is a game that actually benefited from Microsoft's involvement, ultimately. Yeah,
I mean, Game Pass started in 2017. Like, Forza Horizon 4 didn't start development in 2017. It started well after that.
I completely agree with you. Quality
Flight Sim.
Flight Sim,
I don't know. It's just... Game quality is game quality. Like, the subscription service isn't affecting what Obsidian is doing. Obsidian's like, we better make a sucky game because the Game Pass. Nah, man, Obsidian's doing what Obsidian does, regardless of whether Game Pass exists or not. Like, it's just... Yeah. Come on, let's not be silly.
He didn't even qualify that statement, not that he needs to, it's because it's BS. It's BS. That's Jim.
He says what he needs to say at the time he needs to say it. I've said this before. I feel for Jim. He's got a lot of spinning plates that he has to deal with. Okay, Somnia. This is a repeat question from last week. Don't think you made it to mine, so just going to repost it. We didn't make it to a lot of community questions last week because Florida wasn't going to let us. Hey, fellas. Hope you're having a good weekend. Been playing Ghostwire, which, 1, makes me excited for future Tango games on Xbox, and 2, really wishing Xbox would add haptics to their controllers. Oh, so do I. Anyways, on with my question. With most of us having followed gaming for many years and with so many acquisitions happening recently, it seems harder and harder to actually legitimately surprise a lot of us, which makes me wonder, what is the one, and realistic, thing Microsoft, Sony, and Nintendo could do that would surprise you anymore? Can be an acquisition, game announcement, whatever. Have a good one. That's a cool question. I don't mind that question. What could they do to
would
genuinely surprise us? And it can be an acquisition.
I would be genuinely surprised to see Microsoft release either this rumored handheld and anything proprietary VR tech from Microsoft. I would be really, really surprised to see either of those.
Acquire Sony.
That would be a surprise.
Hey, hold on. They can afford it. Let's be real. They can afford it. It would get them more hardware. It would get them movie studios. It would get them music. All of a sudden, Groove Music comes back. They get all those movie studios, and they can develop the Halo TV show in-house because they suddenly own Sony TV and Sony Pictures. Ditch the Xbox brand because the PlayStation brand is so much stronger, and all of a sudden it's all PlayStation with Game Pass. Hey, that'd be pretty surprising, wouldn't it?
Oh man, could you imagine?
Although, having all jokes aside, I think Apple would buy Sony before anyone else.
Yeah, they definitely feel.
I'm still gonna cling to that one. I reckon, because we've seen rumors of an Apple console. Like, people are saying, "Oh, Apple's thinking about getting into consoles." I reckon they just buy Sony rather than make their own console. Like, don't you think Sony is a perfect fit for Apple?
Isn't that
Apple
such an indictment on Sony? Because if there's
Why?
a synergy between these two. Because Apple are shysters as well. The way they do business with their pricing, and they're a good fit.
Yeah, that's another thing. But I'm just saying, to me, Sony is such a perfect fit for Apple if Apple were to want to get into the console industry. Like, if you think about it, Apple would love to have Sony under their belt because they get TVs, and we had heard rumors of Apple wanting to make their own TV. So they get that in Bravia. They would own one of the best camera lens manufacturers for their iPhones and their iPads and their MacBooks and all that sort of stuff. They'd get Sony Pictures to add to the Apple TV Plus stable. They'd get Sony TV to add to the Apple TV Plus stable. They'd get Sony Music to add to their Apple Music catalog. They get the PlayStation brand for their rumored console that they want to make. They just take over Sony's hardware and rebrand it. The Apple PlayStation.
You need to rebrand it. Well, yeah.
They just call it the Apple PlayStation. There's no point getting rid of the PlayStation name. Just add Apple to the front. All of a sudden, you'd no longer have ugly consoles being made by PlayStation like we do now.
Yeah.
So their hardware design gets better. Like, to me, it's just a perfect fit. Like, it's just...
They do go rather well together, but... I guess we'll see what happens when these business pivots that they're doing to... fight again. Fight's the wrong word, but to compete, and even that's the wrong word because they're still the market leader, folks. But to compete in what they envision is the future world, and that's what they're doing now. They're not competing now. They're putting the pieces in place that they can compete in 3-5 years time, whatever. Be very interesting to see. But I've said it for months now. This is the most interesting generation I've been viewing ever. I love it. It's so competitive and different. More, please. I'm really enjoying seeing how everything's unfolding.
Absolutely.
Okay. Last question, because then we've got Superchats. DeoGame. Hello, panel. It's my birthday today. Happy birthday, DeoGame.
Happy birthday.
Isn't it Gaz's birthday too? Happy birthday, Gaz.
I hate
Gaz? Is it your birthday?
It's not.
Is it your birthday today?
John, are you joking?
How old are you?
How old are you?
I'm 36.
Oh, congrats, man. You're
It's not my birthday, John. Oh, you are. He's such a good actor. He's such a good actor. He did that so well. I didn't realize. Wow.
Okay.
Well done, John.
Happy birthday, dear Gaz.
Can y'all phone up Phil to shadow drop some good Redfall news? Anyhow, I have a brief question this week. Do you think Microsoft will try and leverage ABK to end any sort of COD content exclusivity and allow the game into Game Pass day one if restricted? Ghostwire and Deathloop are one thing, COD's another entirely.
Yes.
I mean, yeah, once the Sony deal's over, like right now, I'm sure there's stuff in place preventing COD going onto Game Pass. Having said that, I doubt it applies to historic CODs.
Yeah.
Like, I think once this Activision deal closes, I'm guessing that the very next day we're going to see all the CODs up to and including probably Modern Warfare go straight into Game Pass.
Yeah, that'd be
It
one
was
hell of
the
a content
day
drop.
of Bethesda closing that they just put in
Yeah.
a ton of Bethesda stuff. That
You'll
wasn't
get
there
like
is
Tony
still,
Hawk, you'll get Spyro Collection, you'll get Crash Collection. I reckon you'll get all of those go straight into
It
Game Pass.
depends on if any of it's tied to PS Now, like some of the Bethesda stuff was.
Oh,
have
yeah,
to wait.
that's true. That's true. What were you going to say, Gaz? I can see you want to say something.
No, literally what Jesse was saying. The day the deal closes, expect a whole deluge of COD games
Yeah.
and all sorts. That's going to be they're waiting for that, priming
Yeah.
for that day. They're
Diablo 3, all of it, just all straight
Yeah.
into Game Pass.
Delicious games.
Well, the
yeah.
smart play would be to kind of like release it in stage and pan it out because it's too much at the same time. That's an extended marketing opportunity
Yeah,
there
yeah.
as well. And
Probably makes
people get
sense.
to
Maybe
play.
have one dedicated to just the CODs,
Yeah.
and then later you have and Tony Hawk and Crash and Spyro and Diablo and
yeah.
yeah.
And one day,
That would make the most sense.
Yeah.
Phew, yeah. Okay. That's it for the community questions, but we do have super chats. We may as well go through those. Jason, with the announcement of E3 2022 being cancelled, how does this perhaps affect Microsoft's conference schedule for the rest of the year? Yeah, well, I was going to do the rumor mill, and then I'm like, I don't know if this counts as rumor mill, but look, my info keeps changing on this stuff. Like, at first, before E3 said they were back, I got told that Microsoft's current plan was for a May and a September show. Then E3 were like, oh, guess what? We're back. And I think that may have changed things. But then all of a sudden, 2 weeks later, E3 got cancelled. So people are like, are we back on with the May and September shows? Look, I'm not 100% on what is happening there. I still think Microsoft will probably do what they've done in the past with like a big showcase. Like, when was it that they did the Xbox plus Bethesda showcase? When was that?
June, late May, June.
Was that 2021 or was that 2020?
Yeah, it was 21.
It was 21, wasn't it? They had the big Xbox plus
It was
Bethesda
June
showcase.
13th of last year, 2021.
Okay, which is E3 time. I think the plan this year is to have separate Xbox and Bethesda. I think that's the plan this year. Safe to say Paris will probably host the Xbox one. And I think the plan is for Pete Hines to host the Bethesda one. I think.
Get me to host the Xbox One. Paris has done his bit. Let me do it. It'll be so good. I'll bring back Booth Babes. Okay, maybe that's
You
not
and
the
I
one.
should host. You and I should host the Xbox one. Could
How
you imagine
sick would
that?
it be? How sick would that be?
Man, co-hosts, just
Oh,
the back and forth.
I see how it is. Okay.
Punch
I'm
on
literally
stage.
his arse right now, thanks to Creaky Legs, so might as well. that sounds great.
Fair,
That
fair.
would be funny. But I think at the moment that is the plan for the shows. Now the dates of those, I don't know. I'm not sure, but I think safe to say that Paris will probably be booked again for that Xbox show.
Should be Colt. Colt would be good for that. Colt
He's got the
Eastwood.
radio voice.
He's got the voice for
He's
the
got a
radio
very
voice,
good voice, doesn't he?
and he's been like he's bled green for years, and he's like literally is like safe content creator for them, and he's done a lot of work. What does Paris do apart from the E3? He just asks for games. Twitter. No, I'm kidding. Twitter. I'm kidding, Paris. But Colt's put the work in making. That's all I'm saying, Paris.
It's worth mentioning as well. I think we missed a super chat. So there was one from Taiyi Kesseris. Xbox One has sold 50 million, PS5 has sold 70 million. Sony should just give up when they can't compete with the older generation consoles. I think it was a context joke during that discussion, so it didn't quite land with the same,
It's fine.
punchiness. But thanks, Tai.
Oh, I get his point, though. I actually get his point in terms of what he's saying and cross-generational stuff and things like that. Lot more Xbox Ones out there than PS5s, isn't there?
Yeah.
Well, it all counts. But yeah, I think at the moment, again, dates I don't know, but I think at the moment the plan is for actual separate Xbox and Bethesda shows. I believe that's the plan at the moment. So I'll be. I mean, we're April, first week or so of April. We may hear about those plans in the next month or so. But yeah, fair to say Paris will get tapped on the shoulder again for the Xbox show, I reckon.
And he did a good job, so good for him, if that's the case.
Yeah. Hargeet, again. Gaz, taking my idea. I want to do that. Xbox needs a publisher that has studios in countries other than the West and Japan. What idea
He made a
did you
video
take?
of this.
Going to Africa.
The idea, going around the world
right.
and building games like that. He actually did a video on what that kind of diversity, meaningful diversity in game creation is. Yeah, shout out to Augie. Video should be coming out once we have a chat. But yeah,
Yep.
stole your idea.
Now, Tai Casares, another 2 super chats. I think Amazon is more likely to buy Sony. Consider how they are all buddy-buddy in movies and series area. I reckon Amazon is slowly working on Sony. And he said Apple will probably buy Nintendo. No one is buying Nintendo. Absolutely no one. And you know what? This is going to sound odd. Nintendo doesn't care how much you offer them. Nintendo does not care how much money you offer to buy them. They will not be bought by anyone. Microsoft's tried. How much more money do you think Apple's going to offer than Microsoft? Microsoft has tried.
Yeah.
It's not going to happen. Like, no one's buying Nintendo. Amazon buying Sony is an interesting one. From a content perspective, yes, I can see why Amazon would want Sony, but what interest does Amazon have in the hardware part of it? Actually, no, that's not right. They do have, obviously, Amazon Retail. So they could have exclusivity on Sony's TVs, on Sony's... maybe Amazon does make sense. I still think Apple's a better fit, personally.
Yeah.
Sony and Apple also align on a lot of... What's the word I want to use? They align, I guess, thematically is the one word I'm using, even though theme is a weird thing, but I think thematically in their
the
beliefs,
exclusivity of their brand.
Yeah, they align a lot.
Yeah. That's what I was alluding to. There's a lot of synergy between the two. It'll be, I know this is corporations we're talking about, but you're going to be very hard pressed to argue which one's the good gaming company now with Apple and Sony together. Like, there you go.
Yeah.
Try and sort that.
I think there's also a lot of synergy from a fan perspective.
Oh,
could you imagine?
Basically call them heads. That's right. Apple owners are.
And this comes from
Android
someone
all the
who
way.
is... I am balls deep in the Apple ecosystem. I've got
Disgraceful.
iPhones. I got like 4 iPads, iMac. Mate, trust me, I am... And that's still me saying there's a lot of synergy between those fans. Like, God, could you imagine the toxicity if Apple were to buy Sony?
God, Apple fans and Sony fans together would be...
Oh, my God.
They'd win the war, guys. They'd win the war.
Oh, man.
Nick, I'm not sure if you saw it, but there were 2 other super chats you skipped past. I'm not sure if maybe you can't see them in the view.
Oh, Supernova.
We've got one from Supernova, yep.
I suggest that Gaz send the source to Jim Ryan so that he can use it to cool the PlayStation 5 in GPU overclock mode.
It's only going to heat it up. That's how hot the sauce is.
Wow. Maybe he's saying that the chip is running so hot in its overclock mode
that even hot sauce would cool it down.
Oh, wow. That sauce is...
Hugh.
That's it. That's the last
Xbox... Should Xbox buy Cloanto and Atari for retro stuff? I don't know. Who's Cloanto?
I don't know who Cloanto is.
Amiga, I think. They're part of Amiga. Or they own Amiga now.
Oh, yeah. Look at that. As soon as you look up Cloanto, it says Amiga Forever is like the first website that pops up. Okay.
Good old Amiga. All for it.
Yeah, I don't know. If they want to get interested in retro, then buy Sega.
Yeah.
That's who you buy if you want to go
That's
retro.
who you buy.
You buy Sega.
Yeah.
And Georgie, Nick, anything on KI2 or Everwild? Rare is beefing up. Nothing, mate. Haven't heard anything about either of those two, not for a long time.
Not a sausage. I do suspect from the social media postings, some of the new team members joining and announcing they're joining the Everwild team, that I think, we heard the rumors, Jeff Grubb reported that it got rebooted or in some form internally.
Yeah.
I think that perhaps the design direction decision has been made, and that's why you're now seeing that. But
Stop spending money, Tai. Stop spending money, Tai Cazares. He's got another super chat. If Sony was going to buy any company, it should be Epic, so then we can call them Sonic.
Hey.
You know who I reckon would be interested in Epic? Microsoft.
Everyone would be, but yeah.
Oh, I mean everyone, but in terms of the big ones, I reckon Microsoft. Like, if you think about it, and Epic, like Microsoft buying Epic would have nothing to do with exclusivity. Zero. They're not going to make Fortnite and Rocket League exclusive. It's just not going to happen.
Yeah.
They would buy Epic because they would want Unreal Engine as part of GameStack. They would want to own the Unreal Engine, and like, I think I'm trying to remember if I said this on a podcast earlier or if I said it in the Discord. But like, to me, Microsoft would want Epic. I think this State of Unreal thing probably puts a spanner in the works if they were to want Epic, but like, they would want to buy Epic to get a hold of Unreal Engine before it explodes and becomes a thing that's used to make movies, that's used in like just about... Because I fully expect that as like companies that are making kids films, CG kids films, those are becoming more and more expensive to make. Unreal Engine would bring that cost right down if they can make... Because the quality on Unreal Engine is unbelievable. They can make movies out of Unreal Engine that look just about as good as any other CG movie out there. And they're not doing it using supercomputers. They're just doing it using beefed up gaming PCs. Like,
yeah,
the cost of making those kids film... And I'm not saying that Pixar's ever going to switch to Unreal Engine 5. That's not going to happen. No. But your mid-tier CG animation studios would be having a long, hard look at Unreal going, man, okay, look, our movies are never going to be Pixar's movies and we're never going to make that kind of money. But if we can get the cost down on making our movies, then we make a lot of money without selling more tickets than we normally would.
I think the Unreal Engine is a kind of engine in movie spaces. It facilitates other effects and stuff, so they use that tech alongside other tools.
Yes.
Yeah. So it's
I don't
not
know
wholesale.
I don't know how likely it is that a keyframe animated from scratch movie would be made in Unreal. I mean, I don't know enough about the subject.
But
to
why
make
not?
A comment.
What do you think a cutscene is?
But I would still argue there is a huge difference in quality. I guess I get what you're saying is that I
don't know about
for
that.
The studios between a fully rendered lit Pixar scene in like Turning Red or Soul versus...
But it's all pre-baked. All pre-baked. So why can't... Like, what's the difference between a 40-minute cutscene in a game that's using Unreal Engine 5, add an extra 40 minutes and you got yourself a movie?
Yeah, so I suppose you're right.
What's the difference? Right. Like, you saw that demo that Coalition ran. You're telling me that didn't look as good as some just below Pixar CG movies?
Yeah,
I think it's quite fascinating, this conversation, that we're kind of heading towards uncanny valley with these engines, and so I find that fascinating.
Either way,
but I'm just thinking about it from a business and cost perspective.
I understand.
Like,
I understand.
Like there aren't many studios out there that, outside of DreamWorks, who else sees themselves up there with Pixar?
Yeah,
no one, right?
Yeah.
So if you're a who are they called? Are they Blue Sky or whatever it is that made Rio? I can't remember who it was. If you're a Blue Sky, or if you're a Illumination, or if you're one of these studios that's just that one level below Pixar and Disney, you're going, okay, we're not doing the numbers Pixar and Disney are doing, but our movies are still costing almost as much as theirs are. How about we switch over to Unreal Engine 5, push the limits of what that can do? Okay, we're still not going to make the money that Pixar and Disney are making, but our costs are suddenly going to go right down because we're using the Unreal Engine. So we're going to make a lot more money.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean,
again, I'm just looking at it from that angle.
when you put it like that, I don't see why not. But I don't know enough about the movie industry to really.
The biggest
fully
thing with
get it.
Unreal right now is actually their light dome, like with The Mandalorian being shot on that, like having that practical studio with the whole wraparound screen thing. That's their big thing for media.
That's what I mean, man. And
amazing.
And if I'm Microsoft, I'm wanting to own that. Like, they're not going to make it exclusive.
A lot of good reasons to own Epic. Absolutely.
Like Epic would be a purely money-making buy, not about exclusivity. Like, GameStack is big for Microsoft. They're pushing GameStack a lot. We said this after that Sega deal, remember? Microsoft wants to be the backbone of game development. And owning Epic and the Unreal Engine would basically solidify that and seal the deal of Microsoft being... Like, they're already Epic's #1 customer, aren't they, in game development? Like, to me, Epic would be someone they'd be having a long, hard look at, I reckon. But I don't know.
Maybe add it to your shopping list on Twitter and we'll see what happens.
Yeah. Put it out on Twitter that there's no way known they're buying Epic. to reverse jinx myself. But yeah. Oh, no, I just think it's an interesting discussion to have about the movies and all that sort of stuff. Because, again, like if you hadn't told me that Coalition demo with that guy holding that crystal, whatever the hell he was holding, that crystal, if you hadn't told me that was an Unreal Engine demo, I would have just said, oh yeah, someone's done some CG cutscene.
Yeah, fair point.
Like, or Blur. Think of a studio like Blur.
Yeah.
Who, incredibly talented studio, and what they could potentially do with Unreal, and man, like,
sky's the limit.
They're like, it's like, oh wow, we haven't dropped the quality of our CG, but our costs have like chopped in half by using Unreal Engine instead of using whatever Maya 3D or whatever else they use. I don't know. They'd be like, wow, by using Unreal, we've cut our costs in half.
Yeah.
Without dropping the quality of our animation and our CG. Oh, and if anything, using Unreal Engine makes it a bit easier. Like,
who knows? Who knows, man?
That's most likely why CD Projekt Red and Tomb Raider and all that are on Unreal Engine 5, because they don't have to keep paying to keep up with the times on their own.
Yeah, making an engine in-house is difficult. And I think,
again,
Unreal is ticking so many boxes that why not keep going?
I don't ever see Pixar or Disney doing it, but I can see a lot of those mid-tier and lower-tier studios switching over to Unreal Engine 5 to make movies. Because it just makes financial sense
to see it happen
for them to do it. But
there you go. On that note, we are coming up on 2.5, 3-ish hours, something like that.
Yeah.
Gaz has been marathoning the podcast tonight. So we'll let you, Gaz, if you want, to just, wrap it up, give us a shout out, pimp your stuff. Where can people find you? All of that fun stuff.
Yeah, so GameOnDaily.com. Please check it out. One day, when the metaverse kicks in, we'll be poised to deliver all your gaming news. Game On Daily, one word, is the channel as well. So please check us out. But yeah, please do check out the website. We're almost broke now. So do support us. And we will. Your feedback is really important on the website. It is made for the community. It's made for everyone. Literally, it is for the community. It's to redress the balance of the big players in the space who dominate news. Give you the tools to do that. And there's a lot we're trying to do there. So thank you so much. If you're a fan of The Source, I've been suffering from vertigo quite strongly even right now. My head is spinning. But sorry that's been delayed. I'm trying to do way more consistent videos. The next Source videos are very ambitious. I have to write a script.
When's the one I'm in? Wasn't I supposed to be in that ABK one?
Yeah, you were. So this is the thing. My Source videos, I just come up with them ad hoc and film the next day. I'm changing that. I'm changing that by gearing up to also up the quality as well, because I'm never happy with the quality of the Source videos. Up the filming, up the cinematography, learn more myself on the editing, because I do all the editing. Need to learn all that. So people have been asking me and DMing me, where's the Source? Trust me, that's all I think about, even when I'm working. Yeah,
because you said that we were going to do the ABK one.
I know, and then it just last minute, it just changes. Trust me, I know exactly what I'm doing, and the scope of what I'm doing next XboxEra is going to play a big part in it. And thank you again for doing such a good job in the last one. I love the fact that you were in that one where I'm grilling Colin Moriarty. But yeah, it's coming.
Amazing.
And honestly, gents, thank you so much for the invite. Chat is brilliant. The community's amazing. I recognize lots of these names because Xbox community's
Yeah.
the best
best
one
community.
in the gaming by far.
Yep.
By
Yeah.
far.
Well,
By
it's funny.
metric
99
ton.
Rukin goes, when will XboxEra be on GameOn Daily? We have been twice.
Yeah.
We've been
And,
on twice. I've been on, and so has John.
Yep.
Whenever you
It's
guys
true.
are ready,
We have
do it. But I know it's a boom. But whenever you're ready, give me
Yeah.
a shout. I'm done. I'm ready there.
For me, it's
find a
like
way.
6 a.m. to be on
Yeah, I
your
know
show.
it's really hard. I know
It'd be
it's
like
hard. That's
6
the problem.
a.m. on a Sunday
Yeah.
morning.
Yeah, I know. We've had Abe on from other members of Era as
Yeah,
well.
yeah.
And honestly, whenever you guys are ready, just give us a shout. We're more than happy, man. The chat has been amazing. Even though my head is spinning, I've still been like glued into,
Well,
like zoned into what you guys are talking
Mad
about.
props for you for sticking with it and
Yeah.
joining us
Thanks for
today.
joining us, mate.
No
It's
problem
been a
at all, man.
blast. I'm pleasantly surprised you weren't as hot take filled as I perhaps suspected you might be.
I didn't want to
Maybe I need
cancel
to
your
thank
show.
Vertigo. I don't know. But it's good to be back. I missed not being here last week. So, yeah, and mad props to the chat. You guys have been legendary all day long. We'll be back next week, as always. I think we've got a few things hitting next week. Jesse, anything that you
We've
would
got a
want to
guest
shout
next
out?
week.
Oh, yeah. We
Yeah,
have
very
got a
special
next
guest.
week.
We'll just say it. I mean, we said Phil the week before.
Yeah. You can say it.
Yeah, so next week, and I've emailed him. He told me to email him, so I've emailed him. And on Twitter, he keeps saying, yep, I'm jumping on. So next week, we've got Ed Freeze on, who I'm really excited about. Yeah. So I'm very interested to have a chat with him, the stories from when Xbox first started, and because we had always said we wanted Phil on, but we've also wanted a lot of those OG Xbox guys on, because we've just loved to pick their brain and stuff like that.
sure.
But Seamus is
difficult man to
tricky
pin
to
down.
nail down.
Isn't he just chilling on royalties now?
He's
I
a
don't
CEO
know.
of another company, so he's
He's
just very
tricky
busy.
to nail down. But Ed Freeze was shockingly easy to get a hold of. I was so surprised.
He's a
with Ed
legend as
Freeze.
well. He's a legend after that documentary.
Yeah.
It's good.
And I saw the round table style thing they did with Reggie and Peter Moore and Bonnie Ross, and he seemed really cool on there too. So I'm like,
Yeah, it's
man,
a great
we should
guy.
try and get Ed Freeze on the show. So,
coming on.
yeah, he should be joining us next
Amazing.
week. All things
amazing.
being equal and going well.
The community needs to give mad props to Special Nick here for securing Mr. Freeze, which is most appreciated.
Well done, man.
Good stuff. And
that's
we'll
good.
be back next week. We'll have a fun time. So I'm looking forward to seeing the community questions from all of our patrons. I'm sure that they will be polite and not too wordy. And looking forward to it. And we'll see all you guys right here next week.
Next week. Ciao for now.
Adios.